not. Aaron, what do you got going on up there?
No, it's good. It's good.
Oh, is it
We're
working?
good.
Are we good? I think we're on.
I think it's good.
Okay. All right. I think he's good. Don't touch anything. Don't touch anything. Okay.
All right.
We're good.
I think we're okay.
That
Everything
was a
should
tough
be
one.
fine.
That was a tough one.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the Badonkagonk Star Wars podcast.
Badonkagonk. That's an
Badonkagonk.
interesting name.
Well, it is, I guess, but it's our buddy here.
It is our buddy here. This is our buddy. We found him here on the sands of Tatooine. Some Jawas sold him to us.
Yeah, I think we got a good deal on him for the most part.
I'm not sure if he's a PL and K droid or if he's just two gonks put together.
Sure.
Because
it could be questionable.
I don't think he's factory settings.
Well, no. His face is in the front.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But he is what he is.
He is what he is.
Isn't that right, Badonkagonk? You there?
I think he's in there.
He's awake, right?
Yeah, I think he's good.
All right. Badonkagonk is here, and he's going to be...
Wait, he usually says something, though. Oh, okay.
He's okay.
I think he's
We're
awake.
good. We're good.
He gets a little... He gets a little cranky sometimes. He doesn't like to do what we have him doing because he's really just a power droid. He's just for power.
He's going to be running the stream. He'll be our communication to you guys.
Yep.
And also we'll get some questions and stuff later on that we'll cover for... if you guys have any Star Wars questions, pretty much any topic will be okay, and we'll cover what we can towards the end of stream or broadcast or transmission.
Transmission.
Yeah.
He doesn't really understand what a podcast is.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No. Anyway, so yeah, we are here. This has been a dream of ours to start a Star Wars podcast.
Sure.
And I've been waiting for it. And we finally got it. We have the gonk.
We've talked Star Wars a lot through
so much
many videos and many just not videos, just on our own.
And because we talked so much, we decided we're going to talk way more.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to talking to about just about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We'll probably cover a lot of things as far as spoiler-wise, because we also do reactions for different things.
We do.
For example, the Andor trailer just came up not long
It did.
ago.
Shout out to everybody that's at Celebration right now. We wish we could be there with you. We were at the last one, but this one, not so much. Hopefully the next one.
Yeah.
But maybe after all the craziness, you'll be able to watch Badonkagonk on your own or on the way home.
So, but no, covering stuff as far as like spoilers, like we want to react and cover things for normal reactions that we do, but spoiler-wise, things that we'll probably talk about, probably anything in the main movies. Yeah, we'll cover things in the TV shows, including animated and live action.
Sure.
And then probably also, I don't know, anything in previous episodes that we cover on Badonkagonk will be there. But we'll for the most part, if you don't know things about books, if you don't know things about comics, there's a lot of that stuff that we're kind of missing in some of the lore and canon that we haven't caught up on. Yeah. We'll be catching up on that as well, and hopefully you guys can join in with us.
Yeah, we're literally going to be starting from, like, with us having seen or read none of it, right? Yeah. The comics, the books, and all that stuff. So it'll be a good opportunity if you feel like it's insurmountable, the amount of stuff that's out there. You can literally follow along with Badonkagonk and crew. So, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to a lot of that kind of stuff, and just sharing, like, our enjoyment, our love for the fandom and for the franchise and everything, and just having fun and experiencing, like, sometimes there's, like, things that we talk about on reaction videos and stuff that we don't get to dive into as deeply, or that we don't cover at all because it's not necessarily prevalent to the story at the time. So we'll be able to cover all kinds of different topics here, I think. So I'm excited about a bunch of that. So
me too. Super excited.
We should also say, besides having questions later on in the podcast, we will be giving away the Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. This will be available. We'll give it digitally to... I mean, depends what console, what way you want it. You can get it, PlayStation is what we have here, but digitally we can get it however you want it. So if you guys are interested in that, you should be able to do !ticket, or it's tickets. I don't know if there's an S or not. But you should be able to see that in chat, submit into that, and we'll do a drawing later on.
I'm actually playing this for my stream night every Wednesday right now. I just completed episode 1. It was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to next Wednesday playing episode 2 and hopefully 3 at the same time. We'll see.
Sure.
But it's a very, very fun game. I've played a Lego game before. I think it was like episodes 1 through 6 of Star Wars. But I think I didn't realize just how funny it was.
Yeah, really good?
Really good.
Lego usually has some pretty good humor, I feel like, in a lot of their, like, just games and stuff that they do. So
yeah.
Also, Badonkagonk has his own Twitter.
He does.
Which I believe he just posted for the first time.
He did.
Which you can find at Badonkagonk on Twitter.
Okay.
So,
As soon as I'm done with podcast, that's the first thing I'm going over to see what he said. I'm sure it's very, very important.
I'm sure it is as well.
Because, I mean, he can talk now, but I kind of understand what he says, but...
It's taking some getting used to.
Yeah.
We just got him recently.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting things set up for this has been pretty good.
Yeah.
He's been doing all right, and he's trying his best, and he's tired a lot.
He's
We
a
know.
little tired, we know.
Well,
It took a little bit to get the stream set up because, I mean, we had to kind of like retrofit stuff in there. We had to tear him apart. He really did not. He didn't like it, I know, but it's just one of those things. All right, Aaron. So I say that there's going to be a lot of people here that are watching us for the first time, maybe. And they might not know who we are and what we are about when it comes to Star Wars. So that may be a good spot to start with the episode 1 of Badonkagonk.
Sure. So, like, why watch us talk about
Aaron,
Star
why
Wars?
Star Wars?
Why Star Wars? Oh, man, I don't know.
Why do we care so much? Why do we talk about it so much?
It's a good question because, like, I don't know what it is necessarily.
Yeah.
It hooked me when I was younger, just the original trilogy. And one of my, like, first Star Wars memories was, like, shooting the stormtroopers, boarding the Tantive and stuff like that. And, like, just getting on and trying to attack and just having elements of, I don't know. I don't know what it is. There's something about it that just has a magical element to it. Like back when episode 1 came out.
Other little lights in there with, you can also increase
but
the volume.
episode
Gonk has,
don't know what
I
he's
guess,
doing.
gotten opened a stream or something. Gonk, let's not do that, please. Bad Gonk.
Stop watching other videos.
He's spazzing out now. He's upset.
All right. So back when I was, I don't know how old I was. 1999, episode 1 comes out, right?
1999.
Like
what a year.
It's been a while. But I remember
Depends on what year.
I was so interested in wanting to watch Star Wars Episode 1 that the deal that I made with my parents was that for every home run, or that if I hit a home run, I could go see Star Wars Episode 1. So I hit a home run. But that summer I hit 4 home runs, and I made them take me to Episode 1 all 4 times.
4 times?
So I saw that 4 times in theater. So, I don't know. There's just something about seeing all that stuff as a kid, like my first theater experience with it, that just really hooked me.
Yeah. We should definitely say that we're children of the prequels, right?
Sure.
Like the first Star Wars movie that I saw in theaters was actually Episode 4 Special Edition.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. I was a farm kid. As a farm kid, there's not a lot to do in terms of celebrating your fandom other than going out in the woods, finding a really good stick and hitting trees.
A good stick.
A really good stick.
Like a lightsaber stick?
Yeah, a lightsaber stick. When you get that feeling of a good stick, like this stick was going to last me all summer. Hopefully it does. Sometimes it doesn't. It depends how hard I'm fighting.
Sure.
But yeah, I had my mom drop me off the theater just like for a day, and I just rewatched that movie. I had the special editions. The original trilogy, like blue purple box. You remember that box?
Yeah, that was like the oldest one I can remember.
Yeah, I had that on VHS, and I have some of my first clear memories, honestly, of like my parents being gone, and I'm in their bed because they had a VHS player like in their room, and I'm in their bed watching Star Wars, like very young. So it's very, very important to me in that regard.
I remember having the gold special edition.
I had the
VHS
special editions
box.
when those came out. Those were great.
But of the original trilogy, my mom, when they traveled, like they used to travel in an RV, and they had recorded on one VHS tape all 3 movies.
Sure.
And I would put that on when I was going to bed with episode 4 and just fall asleep to it. And it was like, I don't know, 8 hours long to get through all the movies.
Yeah.
And I would just fall asleep. And if I woke up in the middle of the night, I had another Star Wars movie instead. It'd be on, I'd be on Hoth, or I'd be on Jabba's Palace or whatever it would be. And I'd just fall back asleep watching Star Wars again. So,
how many nights you think that you did that in your life?
Oh man, I don't know. I did it probably from being like 8, 9 years old to probably into high school, honestly. Like it was a lot.
Hundreds.
A lot, yeah.
He's Gunk. I think he's judging you a little bit.
No, it was just like osmosis. It's that how you put like a record on and then like you memorize it because your subconscious is hearing it.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of Star Wars was just like I knew lines because I just listened to it every night.
Me and my brother would be in like the backseat of the car, literally just reciting the whole movie. I'm sure my dad, the farmer that didn't care about Star Wars, just hating it, But yeah, that's it's definitely something that shaped my. Let's face it, me and you would not be good friends like this if there was no Star Wars.
Sure. Star Wars was probably
we wouldn't have the job we had.
Yeah.
Right now.
No, a lot of it. We started doing the YouTube channel and fan film stuff with lightsaber fights.
Yep.
Like we did that. We won the international lightsaber choreography competition like 2 different years.
Twice.
They're on their 20th year, I think, this year.
This year is going to be the 20th year, and I think when did we win? We won.
Was it 10 and 12?
I think it was 10 and 12. Yeah, so it's been a bit since we've been in it. So if it's a 20th year, we might need to do that again.
Could be fun.
I want to do that again so bad.
It would be fun,
especially now that we like know what we're doing more in terms of cameras and actual visual language and all that stuff. I mean, we did Kylo Ren: The Awakening as a fan film, and I felt like that was the best in terms of feeling like you kind of have a grasp of what you're doing versus like just furiously putting like the railroad tracks in front of the train like the other ones were.
It was also like in the Star Wars universe,
Yeah.
as opposed to the other ones were just like, this is a parking garage and this is a, just a parking lot.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
So no, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens with that.
Yeah, now we can literally be in the Star Wars universe. I mean, we are here on the Dune Sea.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't feel good out there. I'm glad that we're in here with the air conditioning.
Yeah.
Though Gonk runs a little hot, a little tiny bit hot.
He usually does. That's
kind
how
of
he
keeps.
kind of.
That's why I have this shielding right here.
Oh, is that what that's
Do you
for?
have shielding for the radiation that Gonk gives off?
No one told me about that.
We'll fix that for next time. Just maybe keep your legs really close together. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I guess we should say too, like there is some different celebration news that's been hitting.
Yes,
and
there is
up.
celebration news coming out. Like literally, it started today. Today is the what is today's date, Aaron?
Today's the 26th of May.
The 26th. So we should say that like this first episode of Badonkagonk is right before Kenobi launches tomorrow. So it's just like if you want to set in your have something in your head to say like when did they start this? Like right before Kenobi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And I'm excited for that. Like
Me too.
We're
It's
talking.
not
Not going to be long enough. I know it's not going to be long enough. You know what I
know.
mean? Like that's the thing.
I am jealous. I just heard that people at Celebration are going to be watching the first 2 tonight
in like a theater.
in a theater. But I also got to say I don't think there's anything better than watching with you guys either. So I have been looking forward to the podcast, but I've been looking forward to Kenobi, what Obi-Wan Kenobi is, since 2005.
Sure.
2005, May 19th, I skipped school, not to go see the movie. I skipped school to wait in line.
Yeah.
And when I say that, there was no line. There was me
You
and
were
my
the line.
friends. And then the line started like an hour before the movie. And I should say we waited about 10 or 11 hours.
So you just waited there.
Yep.
There wasn't a line.
There was no line.
What
No
did
one around here
What'd
cared.
you do while you waited for Star Wars
We
to come out?
had a rubber ball. We played with that. We had fake lightsabers. We played with that. We made friends with the nice lady at the concession stand. We played. They had arcade games. We played that. But it's just it's a wonderful memory, and I've been thinking about Kenobi for so long. I know that Legends has jumped into that time of Kenobi's life and all that, but when I heard that Hayden Christensen is also going to be here, like there's just something in my heart for those two men that's like a deep-seated boyhood love that hardened over time because, you think that people don't like Star Wars movies now. I don't know if everybody here realizes how much people didn't, like critics straight up hated
the prequels.
those movies. Bullied George Lucas to just not do it anymore. But I went through that fire then. I go through that fire now. I know that another 20 years I'm going to be enjoying what's going to be happening then, and everybody else will have caught up.
Will have caught up. Sure, yeah. No, I get you. Like there's seeing like the hate that like Hayden got for the prequels, and then seeing him kind of being like, I don't know, welcomed back in.
Last Celebration, we were there when he showed up, and same thing with Ahmad Best.
I was going to say about
the guy
Ahmed
that played
Best
Jar
as well.
Jar, like the absolute love. And there was a part of me that's like, are people trying to overcompensate here? Like I remember being in the crowd feeling that, and then just like that washing away because it was just everybody in that room was the same as me. We were just like this guy and his performance like shaped certain parts of me.
Sure.
As bad as that might sound.
Yeah, no. And I'm sure there's some different conversations that we'll get into in the future, whether they be debates or just discussions about all kinds of things that people have had problems, things that they love about Star Wars.
Yeah.
All kinds of, there's so many topics, I think, in Star Wars that you can get into about like, character choices, or even from a meta standpoint outside of the universe of like directing choices or whatever that people enjoy, people don't enjoy. And that's one thing too, is like Star Wars it's become so vast now that I feel like there's a little bit of something for everybody at the very least, right?
There is.
Like you get Mandalorian with like a more Western feel,
Yeah.
And you can have at the same time like a samurai type story going on because of like Jedi Knights and what they have going on.
Sure.
And, like I don't know, there's lots of different types of stories that we have going on now, and
There is.
it's crazy, and it's so much more than when I was a kid. I
Yeah.
can't imagine what I would have thought having like as much Star Wars as there can be now.
It was
But-
slim pickings back in the day.
Yeah, I had 3 movies.
Yeah.
Wow, and then all the other ones that didn't count anymore, like
I get you.
Ewoks and holiday specials.
Sure.
stuff.
We did have
where it's like-
those. Yeah.
so
Oh man, we're gonna be talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi a little bit later, right, in the show. But right now, I think we do have some celebration news that we can go over if you want to go over it. That's been dropping. There's a panel going on right now. Apparently, it's not being streamed. Man, being at Celebration is awesome and super frustrating because when you're there, you're like, I'm going to see all the stuff. It's going to be great. And then, like, you get into one panel, maybe,
yeah, sure.
So it was a part of me that going, like, is it better to just not go and just get all the information here? And, but I really miss it. I'm jealous of people that are out there today. And going over to Galaxy's Edge, too. Because I briefly went to Galaxy's Edge, but I didn't get to
and it
explore
wasn't fully open when it went, right?
It wasn't. They didn't have, like, certain attractions and
Yeah.
stuff. Some stuff was so crowded, I just couldn't go.
Well, there's something about Celebration too, and like the fandom and
Yeah.
seeing all the people and
Yeah.
watching all the people run around with the ice cream. What's that
the
guy's
Will
name?
Row hoods?
Yeah.
The running of the hoods?
Watching all of them just run around with his like ice cream machine thing. And
Yeah,
just,
the Camp Tono.
yeah.
Which Galaxy Edge is selling Camp Tonos now.
Really?
I want a Camp Tono to keep my valuables in.
Your valuables, like your Star Wars figures.
I would need a lot of Camp Tonos,
Yeah.
I think.
And big ones.
That's another part of my Star Wars fandom is that whenever I used to love the action figures, and I inherited that love from my brother. My brother would open and play, and we would play, so he would have his figures that we would play with, and when I got a figure, I'm like, well, I'll just keep this one in the box. That way I
Sure.
don't lose the guns. I don't want to lose the accessories. So I got into the habit of getting Star Wars figures, but keeping them in the box, and now I have too many. And my nephews mock me, like, well, you don't play with them. It's like, yeah, but I don't lose the BTL 16s.
Where's your BLT 16?
Yeah, where's your BTL 16s? Like his Dengar doesn't have a BTL 16.
No.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, where we at, Aaron?
Where we at? Well, if we want to go over a few things for Celebration,
Yeah, Celebration,
because
that's what we wanna
we
do.
do want to cover some stuff for Kenobi here in a little bit, but we knew there was going to be some Celebration
Yep.
stuff, so we're going to kind of sprinkle little bits of that in here as we go.
Now we know that an Andor trailer has dropped,
Yeah.
and reactions, that type of thing. That's not really part of the podcast. That's going to be continuing on the main Blind Wave channel. But we will talk about some of the stuff that has dropped already about Andor. So again, check out that trailer reaction. If you're watching this live, we'll be doing it in a little bit. If you're watching this after, then you could probably go find it right now at youtube.com/blindwave.
Sweet.
But we do have some information here. The first is, let's see. What do we got here with Andor? The 2-episode series premiere of Andor is coming August 31st. So
Okay.
another 2-episode drop with Andor.
Sure. Yeah.
August. That's so soon.
It's not too far away. No. We're going to be having Kenobi going into like the end of June, and then we'll have July, and then we'll have the end of August. So we'll have like a 2-month break in between those series.
We were just talking about this the other day. It's like, what comes next after Kenobi?
Yeah.
And I think we mentioned Andor.
We were talking about Andor. We're like,
But I'm-
Mandalorian.
I'm
and-
looking forward to Kenobi so much. I just imagine, like, yeah, that's next year.
Sure.
Like, in my head, that's what I was thinking. That's August. That's
No.
so soon.
It is.
Okay, well, that'll be dropping on Disney Plus at the very end of August. But we have a quote here from Tony Gilroy, who says, we're going to rewind 5 years back from Rogue One. We've already shot 12 episodes.
12 episodes. Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
5 years
crazy.
back from Rogue One. Rogue One sets up right next to Episode 4. So
Sure.
we are theoretically right where Star Wars Rebels.
I mean, Rebels
Will be
is probably
starting.
going to be running around during that time. So if we run across people involved
Yeah.
in Rebels,
Yeah.
it could be possible
could.
to do. We've seen, as far as Rebels goes, we've seen like Yavin Base involved.
have.
Watching Rogue One, you see Yavin Base involved in that. So there's definitely some crossover events that you could have happening there,
Yeah.
right? Between like Mon Mothma and
When's the last time you watched Rogue One?
Rogue One.
Yeah.
It has been a while.
Has it been a while?
Currently, I'm going through Star Wars with my family.
Oh, yeah?
Some of the younger ones hadn't seen it, and this time I'm watching through, because the last time we did any Star Wars watching, we just did the movies, and Leon and Colson, my oldest ones, I was trying to get
Yeah.
ready to see the sequel trilogy and watch all that.
Gotcha.
This time we actually started with episode 1, and we've been going chronologically through. And it's been a different type of experience rather than doing like I usually did, what was it, the machinima or machete order?
Machete
right?
order, yeah.
Where it's
it's
watch
modified
this,
machete.
Watch this, then actually watch episode 1, don't cut it out.
Yeah, the original machete was like, just watch Duel of the Fates, don't watch all the other crap, and I would go crazy. I need my Trade Federation stuff. I need to know the trade disputes. I need to see Chancellor Phoenix Valorum. I got to see that stuff.
Why are you going to cut out the pod race?
It's amazing. It's amazing. The pod race is one of the greatest things.
So many great miniatures in there.
Dude, that movie came out in 1999.
It did.
When you watch the pod race, that looks so good. And a lot of that is just, they call it projection mapping, where like they have 3D geometry, but it's just motherfuckers out in Jordan taking pictures and then mapping that to geometry. And that's why it looks so good. 1999.
That's great. But no, anyway.
If you didn't ever see us before, do we get off on tangents? Maybe a little bit.
Sure. But no, watching through that has been interesting. We are approaching the end of Rebels, so I'll be watching Rogue One again here soon.
Yeah.
So I'll see it before the Andor series.
Every time I watch Rogue One, and it's usually like between having watched, the trilogies or something like that. Every time I watch it, I flirt with the idea: is this my favorite Star Wars? I really do. There was a criticism when it came out, being like, "Well, I didn't care about any of the characters," but like when I try to watch it. It's impossible to watch things objectively. Like, you bring so much with you that it is subjective. But, like, when I get to the end of that movie and I try to, like, step back and look at it, I feel like I care about those characters more than I would if I just watched episode 4, honestly. But that might also be, and again, this is subjective, like, the original trilogy has been modern mythology for me my entire life. Like, it's a living mythology, yes. Like, I can rethink about, different topics inside that, but it's always just been something that exists for me. It was never a movie that I watched. It was like a foundation of how I interacted with my friends and my brother and all that stuff. So I never really looked at it critically until I was a little older. But it kind of has almost an unfair thing of like, like Luke Skywalker just, like, I'm not looking at his choices, at least when I was a kid. Like, I'm not looking at his choices. I'm just looking at something that already exists, and I know what's going to happen. I can't remember my first time.
This is what it is.
I can't remember being shocked at the original trilogy, right?
Yeah. No,
I just existed.
I
like my mother birthed me, and I came out being like, I know everything that happens. That's what it feels like a little bit. But Rogue One, I had the benefit of having a clear memory of watching it for the first time. So every time I rewatch it, I can like reach back and feel those feelings, if that makes sense.
Sure.
When I watch the original trilogy, I kind of have to like not fake trying to appreciate the way the story goes, but it's just so hard to divorce myself from just like knowing that information coming at me. Whereas Rogue One, it's a lot easier for me to like try to look at Chirrut Imwe and Baze Malbus and what they are as these different characters. But there's a criticism of people being like, "Well, I didn't care about those characters," but every time I get to the end of that movie, like I care so hard.
Yeah.
I love that movie so much, and I especially every time, I'm not kidding, every time I watch it, I appreciate Gabriel Luna's performance as Cassian Andor more. Like, that guy has a lot of soul in his performance, and I think that I'm looking at the Corvettes and the space battles and Vader and Tarkin and all that stuff, and like every time I watch, I kind of peel back those layers of like, look at this, remember this, to experience like, what is this guy bringing to the table? And it's a hell of a thing to make me care about a character that kills his rebel informant in scene 1.
Mm-hmm.
He kills Tivik, right?
No, yeah, for sure.
While comforting him.
It's like, well, this isn't a great guy.
Yeah, he's not a great guy. And you need that feeling of like, that's why I'm so excited for Andor. And Grant, I haven't seen the trailer yet.
Sure.
So this is my thoughts pre-trailer of what this could be.
Do we get to see this darker Cassian doing the dirty things that, like, as you go through Rogue One, he kind of slowly loses because of Jyn, right? Like, by the end of it, when he's supposed to kill,
Galen Erso.
Galen, he hesitates and he stops and he doesn't. But he had no problem just shooting that guy in the beginning.
Tivik was hugging him pretty much, and he shot Tivik. Like, it's going to be nothing to kill Galen Erso, but he's already been affected, and he's already, I love that monologue he has. Like, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. And when you pair that with when the Rebel Alliance says we're not going to Scarif, we're not doing this, it's too much. The Empire's too big. We can't do anything like that. And Cassian gets that group of the other.
Yeah.
We're assassins. We're saboteurs. We are not the good guys, but we're going to do a good thing.
Sure.
I can't wait for the story of Rebel Intelligence.
Yeah.
Because Rebel Intelligence isn't Luke Skywalker farm boy, that learned how to fly Dustin Crops, and now he's going to take down the big bad Empire. Rebel Intelligence is Saul Guerrera. Rebel Intelligence is the terrorism version of the rebellion. That's what I have in my head.
It could be that,
and we grow into something. Because why is it like that? We don't have the hope yet.
Sure.
Luke Skywalker is that hope, but we don't have it yet.
I mean, alternatively, if we get a little bit more of a spy, espionage, James Bondish kind of thing in there too, you could have a little bit of that kind of going on in there. Yeah. It just kind of depends. But when I think about that, I think about what was it, episode 8? Mm-hmm. Yeah, when they went to the Canto Bite thing, and there's like that one guy they're supposed to meet.
Yeah,
and then they don't meet him.
Yeah, to meet the master code breaker with the red.
The way
balloon.
That guy kind of plays it, I picture like a James Bond spy, espionage kind of guy.
Okay, yeah.
But like I don't know.
Sure.
Cassian can be a like a dirtier version of that, I guess.
I would enjoy it both ways, but I imagine that Cassian, like, that line always stuck with me. Like, this guy's been in this fight since he was 6. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
What, like, if he said, like, it's not just saying, like, I've been in it my whole life. That means at 6 years old, he did something.
Sure.
That he's like, I'm in this. Whenever...
It's like Saw Gerrera, right?
Yeah, when Bodhi Rook in that movie, he kills Imperials for the first time when they're stealing that ship, when they're trying to leave Edo. Like, they're like, congratulations, you're in the rebellion now. Like, that's what's said to him by the guy that said, I joined it when I was 6. What did he do when he was 6 years old? I hope the show covers that stuff.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Like, easy enough to do flashbacks and stuff like that, too, or nightmares, like things that still haunt him from his past, which would be really cool to do. So, I don't know. There's lots of things I think you could do with it, and I'm excited to see what they do with Andor.
Me, too, and we do have extra information here, too. Additionally, Andor is expanding its initial first season of 12 episodes to run 24 episodes with an unsurprising second season.
Wow.
That is exciting. Because 12 already sounds great because I really like Mandalorian. I really like Book of Boba Fett and the way, it's not necessarily the most conventional way of formatting episodes and having a story. But for me, it really works just because I do see Star Wars as a living mythology. And living mythologies interconnect and interweave, and the fates have our threads going in and out. So I don't really see Star Wars as like individual, like here's just my feelings on Rebels, or here's just my feelings on Cassian Andor, or just my feelings on poor Tivik that got shot. It all kind of weaves in together. But having a 12-episode run is, I think, going to be very, very fun.
Well, like, what kind of stories are they wanting to tell with that kind of thing? Where, like, most of the stuff has been 10 or less. Yeah. Even diving into a lot of Disney Plus shows are usually sitting around 6, you know? So the idea of, like, what story they want to tell to do 12 and another 12. Yeah. Which is really cool.
Oh, man. So the showrunner is Tony Gilroy, which is exciting. Tony, I believe, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, we had Gareth Edwards, and he was meant to do the war movie, right? And I think Tony Gilroy kind of...
was he involved in that?
I think he was one of the ones that, like, they looked at the movie and were like, let's get Tony to come in here and work on some stuff. And he did a lot of the reshoots and stuff like that.
Okay.
So Tony Gilroy states that the series will be back in front of the cameras in November for part 2. Okay.
November of this year?
I guess so.
Okay, the series will be back in front on the cameras.
On the cameras. So they'll be filming maybe the next season immediately.
Okay.
They must have a lot of confidence in that already. We haven't. No, we're not even done with Kenobi, and they've already done season 2.
The thing I don't want to lose is that back when Solo came out, it got some criticism.
Yep.
And there was like a trilogy of like smuggler, bounty hunter, scoundrel type of things that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And they kind of just nixed it.
Yeah.
But like I feel like Andor can kind of fit in and bridge some of those things a bit. And if we're far enough back in time, like you could really connect some things that we get set up in Solo, things that we kind of see in Rebels, and kind of have that maybe around a little bit where sure we're focused on Andor, but maybe you have a character come in and then go back out, and like it helps thread that story a bit, like we were talking about, where it's like it's interweaved so much. And I'd like to see more of that scum and villainy aspect a little bit.
Me too.
I think it'd be really cool.
And early rebellion would just be fun.
Well, yeah, sure. Like, it's cool seeing Rebels doing what they do to kind of set up the rebellion being built and everything. But a lot of those other characters you get in the original trilogy, you don't see too much of or anything.
Sure.
Or alternatively, seeing live action versions of some animated characters that we've gotten for Rebels and stuff would be really cool too.
I would also like for them to expand a little bit on the characters introduced in Rogue One that we get a frighteningly small amount of, like the people that go with Cassian and Jyn and Rogue One. Like, we don't really get to know them very well. Like, there's a guy named Ruscott Melshi. He was just kind of like a general, but like, there's something about that guy's performance. Like, they all know they're pretty much going to die, and that guy, I don't know. There's something every time I watch him, he has like 2 lines, but I'm always like, Ruscott, no.
No,
I hope that we can develop some of those characters that we saw, and now we can point at them and be like, "That's him." That's
sure. It's like it's like Gold Leader in Episode 4, right? Where it's like he's there, but then was it Gold Leader, right? Yeah, Gold Leader episode, and then he shows up in Rebels, and you get a little bit more of that character, and it's just fun to see because he's not in that too much in Episode 4, and then you get just getting that extra bit, just a little bit more to add to like this character that you didn't even know his name in the original movies. Yeah, and now you have this or that.
It's another example really cool of that living mythology and taking threads. Like, we had Gold Leader, we had him frighteningly little. We saw him in Rebels a little tiny bit, and you get to hook that in here. He shows up at the Battle of Scarif, and those Y-Wings have never been cooler in that moment, and we thread those together and tie it up and leave room for more. So that's what Cassian Andor could be for specifically Rebellion side. Like, Kenobi is going to be in that time frame too, between those 2 movies, but I assume very different. Because we're dealing with Obi-Wan, we're dealing with the Force, we're dealing with those type of things. I feel like Cassian Andor can be the other side. I would love to see Saw Gerrera and the Partisans, because as much as we got to be like, Saul has been broken, like, he's ruthless. He's a good guy, but he's ruthless. And he got to the point where, like, he's looking at this girl that he raised, Jyn Erso, left her with a blaster at 16 years old or whatever, and he's looking at her and be like, are you a spy? Like, he's seeing spies everywhere, and he's paranoid. Like, I want to see him break a little bit more too. Sure,
because even what we saw of him before in like Rebels and stuff, he doesn't seem broken. He seems like he's like, I'm willing to do anything. He's paranoid, takes, but he's not like, I don't feel like he's that paranoid yet. But to see some of that, or see him be betrayed, that maybe sparks that paranoia, could be really cool.
When I watch his end, whenever Jedi gets hit with the Death Star, 1 reactor blast or whatever. And every time I watch, like, someone reacting to it or responding, they're always like, why is he just, come on, he just, like, he rips off his breathing apparatus. He's like, I will run no longer. Like, a lot of people see that like, lame, but the more and more I watch it, and the more I hope that stuff like Cassian Andor can add to this. Like, I see a guy that recognizes that he's broken and won't let the Empire take what's left of his soul.
Sure.
So I hope that we get to focus on those type of things, and those threads that will happen in Cassian Andor change how you watch his stuff in Rogue One.
I love when you can add something to Star Wars that changes the way you see something else. I feel like Clone Wars did that with the prequels. I feel like Rogue One kind of changes a little bit of things for like Episode 4. Even just like how threatening is Darth Vader. Like in Episode 4, I don't feel like I thought he was as threatening as like if I would have watched Rogue One and then that's the first time you see him. Like, that would be like, what's this? Like, I don't want to mess with that guy. What's Obi-Wan thinking going up against? Why would you do this? I just saw him tear through a whole ship of people.
I know.
It's terrifying. It's like a horror movie.
We bring this up a lot, and some people that might be watching us for the first time need to know we have a adoration for a man called Sam Witwer.
Sure.
Who played Starkiller in The Force Unleashed, and who came back to voice the Maul, to the Sun, all these things. And he also does a lot of ADR work with David Collins is a guy that works on in Star Wars sound design, and he's good friends with them. So whenever they just kind of need voices, Sam might just kind of like nudge in and be like, hey, I'll do that voice. So when you watch Darth Vader in Rogue One and you have those 10 rebels in there with Vader, and, it's not him playing it, but the sound is, open fire! That's Sam Witwer getting to be the first person in this movie to, like, show true, utter fear and can do nothing about it. You can say, well, Krennic showed fear. I'm like, he did, but he kind of has protection of, like, he's an important guy. This is a rebel that who knows where he's from.
Yep.
You know, like, I'm going to do something about this. And then you look at the cold, dead eyes of a Sith Lord. Open fire. I've always loved Sam's performance in that. And I've always envied him.
Sure. I know. It's fun to be able
Because he knows everything about Star Wars. He's too damn good looking. He's getting these opportunities.
It's great. It's good for him.
And if he wants to come on the podcast, we would love that. All right, Aaron. We got some more information. Okay. Does he want Sam?
I think he wants Sam as well.
Okay. All right.
I don't know how he knows Sam Witwer, but
yeah, we're gonna have to look around for some pictures. Maybe Gonk can look at, see if that's for sure something he wants. I don't know if that he's attracted to Sam Witwer. I think that he just really, really likes the sound, the idea of having more people than just us.
Sure.
But we gotta be careful.
He's already annoyed by us.
Yeah, exactly. We got more information here. This is Star Wars Skeleton Crew, an original series starring Jude Law. From executive producer John Watts. John Watts, who just did the Spider-Man stuff, right? Isn't that who John Watts is?
I don't know.
I think he handled.
Did he just do the newest one?
I think he did in, the newest Spider-Man movie. Christopher Ford, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni is streaming in 2023.
Huh.
Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Do we have any more information? I need to know. What is Star Wars Skeleton Crew?
I don't know what it is.
We have no idea what it is. Star Wars Skeleton Crew. What is it? Go.
I mean, I would imagine take something kind of like in like Rebels, right? You have like some kind of ship with just a small group of people that just operate it, and maybe they're just trying to survive. Maybe it's a little bit Firefly-like. Yeah. But maybe that's too Rebels-like, right? Okay. Maybe it's like something terrible happened on a Star Destroyer, and you only have a small group of people left on the Star Destroyer trying to take care of it.
Huh. Okay, no. So Gonk just put on our screen some more information here.
Okay.
That says the show takes place during the post-Return of the Jedi reconstruction that follows the fall of the Empire, the same as The Mandalorian, but its plot remains a secret. So we've been getting a couple of these shows being...
That doesn't get rid of what I was saying, maybe. Maybe you have a Star Destroyer of just a few guys. Yep. Like, the Empire's been destroyed, but there's a couple guys left trying to run the Star Destroyer.
So let's fucking take this.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
A casting notice has been called for 4 children around 11 to 12 years old. Inside Lucasfilm, the show is being described as a galactic version of classic Amblin coming-of-age adventure films in the 80s.
Skeleton Crew is?
Skeleton Crew with Jude Law. Right?
Huh.
Okay, so Amblin Entertainment, Steven Spielberg, this is on the vein of Stranger Things, on the vein of
Goonies?
E.T., the Goonies, that type of thing. I should say, like Kathleen Kennedy's forte when it comes to
she worked on a lot of those
working on a lot of those things. So, 11 to 12. We had something.
Could it be kind of Lost in Space-ish?
Maybe.
I don't know.
This could be a really fun way of. I feel like I personally really like the sequel trilogy, and I like the things that the characters bring to it. But one of the things that is lacking is the state of the galaxy at large.
Sure.
And I feel like you could have something like this, the reconstruction that follows after the fall of the Empire, and really dive into like what's the state of the galaxy at large. I don't know. Maybe you don't. If it's 11 and 12 years old, maybe they're not like, what's the politics? But
yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
We moved from Coruscant to Hosnian Prime system as like the base of the Republic, and you have a bunch of questions about what the state is. But 11 to 12-year-olds, this kind of reminds me of the Clone Wars episodes with the Gathering, the younglings that would go.
I like that.
And there was a loose plan to spin that off into its own show with these young. And you could like have this go for more of like the Resistance age audience. Star Wars Resistance is kind of skewed towards younger kids.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what they're going for. But I mean, obviously, Stranger Things, which also coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, it's
and Stranger Things along with Kenobi. Maybe you can try to mix in that little flavor into Star Wars.
It could be interesting. Like the Skeleton Crew idea puts it more on the line of like crazy adventures that these guys are going on. Kind of like the Goonies, they're looking for this dead pirate's treasure and stuff. Maybe they're looking for like, I mean, if it's in between after Return of the Jedi, like they're looking into like not ruins yet, I guess, depending on how old it really is. Like Mandalorian, it's been a few years.
Yeah.
Like you could find some older like Imperial treasures maybe that you're diving into and looking into, like some stuff like that.
That would be fun.
Could be interesting,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Having a coming of age story in Star Wars is going to be interesting because like you get a little bit of that with Luke, but it's more of the hero's journey rather than a coming of age.
Yeah.
So like having this like 11 to 12 coming of age is just going to be a little different.
Yeah, I mean, Solo we pick up with Han like at 17, 18, and then we skip 3 years or something like that. So we kind of skip over his time in the Empire and stuff like that. But it's kind of like a coming to Han Solo in that movie. But yeah, that seems pretty unique.
Sure.
Yeah.
And having it set there too, like there's lots of stuff they already have going on in that segment now with like Mandalorian and Boba. I don't know exactly what they're gonna do with Ahsoka, but like that time zone, like having more stuff put in there gives you more threads to kind of like weave in and out of, and be like, oh, here's this character. Because there's actually, I was thinking about this the other day. I was gonna ask you about it, but like, do you ever feel? I was thinking the other day, like I was worried that at one point there's gonna be not as much stuff to get me excited about Star Wars. Like in the sense, and what I mean about that was that watching Book of Boba recently, we have Cad Bane coming to life into a live action thing, and it's like that was so cool. Or seeing like Luke or Leia being redone in like a newer, like a modern take of like this is young Luke or young Leia, but obviously it's not the actors and stuff. And some of those moments there just really like they hype me up, and they're so exciting and stuff like that. I'm worried the more and more we get into it, I'm gonna have less of that feeling of being like, oh my gosh, it's this character from Clone Wars that like for me when Clone Wars came out, it was canon, but like that's a cartoon and no one watches that. The movies is where it's at, And
sure, I get what you mean. Do I like anticipate that feeling for myself? I honestly don't, but this is tier list culture. People like to scale their everything to a comparable thing, right? So am I ever going to be as excited when the trailer for episode 7 dropped? I don't think so, because when episode 3 happened and Lucas said, I'm not doing it anymore, Star Wars was over.
Sure.
And then Star Wars began again. I don't think I'm ever going to have that feeling.
Yeah.
Like after the original trilogy, Lucas was always coming out and saying, I'm going to do, 3 more about, Vader when he was a boy or something like that. So people kind of like had this idea of like, well, it's going to happen eventually. And when it happened, obviously the fervor for episode 1 was huge. But I feel like it was even bigger for episode 7 because we went from No Hope to A New Hope again.
Sure, yeah.
I know that's very similar to some people's criticism of that movie, that it's A New Hope again. But I don't think I'll ever get there, but that doesn't lessen my enjoyment or my excitement or my love for the franchise. Just because Book of Boba Fett didn't get me as excited as that doesn't really matter. I just enjoy watching my peek into the galaxy.
Sure. No, I get that. It was just something I was thinking about the other day where I was like, is there going to get a point where like, are they going to run out of Cad Banes and Leias and, all these things that like you're bringing from the originals or you're bringing from animation where it's like, well, now I don't have those things to be like, oh, they're bringing this into here because maybe we get everything in there. But there's going to be new characters weaving in and out. Hopefully there's surprises.
I get you.
If they branch out more and more away from the Skywalker side of things and have other characters, I think it'll just add to excitement when it's like, oh, here's this tie-in to here and stuff too.
I mean, if you ask me, like, are we going to run out of those characters? Like, I can go over just on the other side of the camera where my collection is, and I can pull out 500 characters that are underutilized.
Sure.
Like, we haven't gotten Dengar very much.
No?
Not
really.
I want
a little bit in Rebels.
I want more. Yeah, a little
Simon
bit.
Pegg,
Simon
right?
Pegg. But we, Zuckuss and
Clone Wars.
I don't know if people, do you say 4 LOM or 4 LOM?
4 LOM.
Do you say 4? I say 4 LOM too. I've been told that that's incorrect.
Well, do you say AT-AT or do you say AT-AT?
I say AT-AT.
I usually say AT-AT as
yeah,
well.
but people that say AT-AT, like, get real mad at you. Anyway, someone got real mad at me for saying 4 LOM. But did you know that 4 LOM and Zuckuss, for the longest time, their names were switched because they were messed up in toys?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, one of the reasons that those two are always kind of put together is because they were kind of, like, switched up.
Like, no one knew what their name were, so they just put them together.
So it's like, oh, yeah, there's 4 LOM and Zuckuss over there. It's like, which one's which? Shh. Yeah.
Be quiet.
I didn't know that.
Huh.
A lot of, like, for the longest time, like, the toys had messed up their names.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
No, I never knew that.
I also, I hear that the origin of 4 LOM is like a lot of the toys just don't have names until they make a toy. And they're like, what's this droid's name? And some guy at like Kenner is like, for the love of money.
I mean, that's funny. If that's true, that's funny. That would be.
Man.
That's why it's LOM then.
Yeah, that's why. That's the rumor.
Sure.
Who knows?
No, I think there's enough characters where like it's not gonna happen to me soon.
Oh.
But it was just something I was thinking about. But man, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope I don't lose that. Because like if IG-88 just showed up in something, I'd be like, what the hell? This is great. Like we've had IG droids before, but not like IG-88.
True.
But like bringing in other bounty hunters or other characters from the original trilogy that we don't see too much, that could be fun to do.
Agreed. And it looks like we're getting that with some more Disney Plus stuff. Now, last time we had some big announcements like this from Disney Plus about the future of Star Wars. Like the environment was a little bit different. We still have stuff like the Acolyte. Do I say that right?
The Acolyte
coming. I hear that that's still coming, but Rangers: The New Republic,
which was
something I'm like, ooh, that's going to be interesting. I don't know if that was meant to be more of a Cara Dune spinoff or something like that, but we kind of just don't have that anymore. And Rogue Squadron from Patty Jenkins also, like, we don't know if that's. I don't think that's going to be coming.
I haven't heard much about that or Rangers, but I heard Acolyte recently.
Yeah,
and they were talking about like it's going to take place High Republic stuff, and like I haven't read much of the High Republic books or anything yet, but it'll be fun diving into High Republic era stuff at some point.
Which we literally are going to be doing on Badonkagonk. If you're like the High Republic, I've heard that's a thing, and I haven't dipped my toes in, but I'm scared. I'm scared, guys. Well, Badonkagonk is here to dry your toes, or I guess to wet your toes. He doesn't really want to be around water.
Yeah, we'll probably dry them.
Okay. Yeah. To dry your toes.
You can probably blow air out of these or something. And
you probably could. Into the High Republic. So stay tuned. We'll be jumping into that at some point here.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think is that all of our celebration stuff right now?
I think so.
Is.
But Badonkagonk, is that everything? Are we good? I think we're good.
He'll let us know.
All right.
But we should say that, again, any like video trailers that require a reaction, that's something we're going to be getting to later.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, I think now we're going to be switching topics.
Sure, yeah. We go into our spotlight topic, I guess, for now, right? That'd be a good one right now.
Yeah.
So one thing we wanted to spotlight during this podcast was that recently, it was on Saturday, the 21st, Colin Cantwell passed away.
Colin Cantwell,
which is probably someone that not a lot of people was like, well, who's that? I don't know who this is and stuff.
Yeah, whenever you talked about like doing this for the podcast, I was like, wait, I know that name. That's something to do with, and then what do you got?
With designing a lot of Star Wars stuff.
Like when you talk about the design of Star Wars, everybody goes Ralph McQuarrie.
Yes, which is true. It's very true. However, Colin Cantwell did so many design and prototypes for the spaceships of Star Wars.
Okay.
He made designs for like the X-Wing, the Death Star, Star Destroyers, even like the Sandcrawler.
Whoa.
Like he did a lot of the original designs.
Really?
And even like the prototype T-16 that...
the Skyhopper.
That Luke is playing with.
Yeah.
Like that was one that he made. That was originally going to be in Episode 4 for like a pod race type of scene that they cut eventually. But yeah, he did so many of these things, and I was looking into him more and more, and he's considered to be the first hired person for Star Wars a few days before Ralph McQuarrie.
Wow.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I've always heard about Ralph McQuarrie, and like I've seen his art and stuff and all this stuff, but like he did so much work on trying to set up and get like what will Star Wars ships be, to the point that he had the idea of doing the S-foils. And do you know why X-Wings had S-foils?
To lock in the attack position.
Sure. But Colin had his idea for that was that it would be like an old Western gun drawing, but in space. So like when they're ready to attack, they draw their guns and they lock S-foils on attack position. I was like, well, that's cool to have. Like, I never knew what the reason was, because like A-Wings didn't do it and Y-Wings didn't do it and stuff.
Okay.
But I was like, that's kind of cool.
I guess I always kind of thought that like, you know how like a cat puts its back up to make itself look bigger? Like it's like that ship going, like,
oh, run.
It's angry now. Yeah. Huh. No, that's awesome.
Man,
like, that's amazing. 'Cause, like, just imagining, because, you know, I've read the guy's name, you know? Like, when I was, studying for Star Wars trivia, I was doing a trivia show for a bit. Like, I would just have to just pour over the movies every frame. And it got to the point where it's like, now you have to name the background actors and the crew and stuff like that, who won Oscars and what, all that stuff. And that name would always come up in the production side of it. And I'm always like, who? I never really got a chance to
like
to
who
research.
Is this guy
but
and what all did he do?
like a guy who's from his pen, like Is an X-Wing, do you think the X-Wing is like the best ship in Star Wars?
I mean, it's definitely one of my favorites. Like, it's definitely up there. I like it better than A-Wings and Y-Wings and TIE Fighters and so many things. But
I like B-Wings. I like the idea of them, but an X-Wing is just so classic. Like, you can look at the silhouette of an X-Wing in any position from any angle, and my dad's going to be like, well, that's an X-Wing.
That's an X-Wing right
you
there.
know?
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about Star Wars, but he'll be like, that's an X-Wing. Like, to have that come out of your pencil, like, what a thing.
No, yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my favorites. But, no, I was looking at more stuff, too, from him. Like, he had worked on a lot of other stuff, too. He worked on A Space Odyssey.
Oh, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He worked on Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Okay.
He worked on Buck Rogers.
Sure.
And he worked on War Games. Those were all just some things that he worked on and did
Interesting.
concept work and different things for.
So,
and I
like,
was dang.
they're like in Hollywood, they're like, we need a space guy that gives me some space things. They're like, well, I know Colin.
Yeah. No, and before he started doing Hollywood stuff, he was a space guy. He had worked for NASA and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
What?
He was making
X-Wings?
educational videos for the public to like understand like space more, like space flight and stuff like that better. But he also, this is the most interesting thing I think I found about him that I was like, what?
Yeah.
He worked at NASA during the moon landing, and he was relaying messages between NASA and Walter Cronkite for like the actual television like broadcasting and information of it. Like, he was the guy relaying information between NASA and him. And I was like, that's really cool. So, like, he had, like, a busy career before being like, you know what? Make spaceships for TV and movies, you know? And I was like, that's really cool.
Gotcha.
So, but no, he passed away this past Saturday on the 21st, like 90 years old.
Wow. What a life.
But, yeah, he did so much stuff.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was something that I found when I was looking through and we were looking at different topics and stuff about the podcast. I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about Colin. You know,
That's
like,
a good
Colin,
spotlight.
Okay, yeah, this is really cool. So he did a lot of really cool stuff for Star Wars and stuff, and you know, some of the stuff that we missed. It's crazy too. Is like the stuff that he did. Like, it's one of those things where it's like no one notices stuff when it's right. You know, it's like when something's messed up or wrong or whatever, you notice it. And he did so many things right that it's like taken for granted of like how awesome an X-wing is, or what a Death Star looks like, or all these different things, and it's like that's like just the design of them. You know,
like you're a huge Star Wars. I mean, anybody watching this is probably by definition a big Star Wars fan.
Sure.
But just like in the moment, look around you. There's a good chance that Colin did one of those things, like made one of those things. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, rest in peace to Colin.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
All right.
Very much. All right. Well, moving on. Before we get to our next one, we were going to be giving away 2 copies of Lego Star Wars.
Yes.
I was thinking that we should give one. It's about halfway through the podcast time right now.
Yeah.
Why don't we draw one of the winners now, and then whoever we draw or whoever Badonkagonk draws here, we'll hopefully let you whisper and get some information and stuff too. But
okay.
Let's draw that giveaway and see who wins.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. Now, for people that are watching later, not live, this is one of the reasons that you want to check out live, because not only are you gonna be able to have questions at the end of this, but you can win some cool stuff while watching on Twitch.
Yeah. And if you don't win this one, we'll be doing a second giveaway, and there'll be a second one that we'll be giving away later on. So make sure you hold on and wait on that. So, all right. Did we have a winner yet, Badonkagonk? How are we looking on that?
I can hear it.
I think we did.
I hear his motors in there. He's doing something.
All right. It looks like it was Killer Crook.
Killer Crook
was our winner. So
all right.
Make sure you send us a whisper. We will be wanting to get some information. And
oh, okay. He finally caught up. Thank you.
Killer Crook.
Like, yes, Killer Crook won.
Thank you. So Killer Crook won. Make sure you whisper us, and we'll get some information there. And we'll be getting the next giveaway running and rolling, so that we'll draw that here in a little bit as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. If there's nothing else for celebration yet, I would
don't
say
believe so.
We talk a little bit about the Kenobi series coming.
Kenobi.
And preparing for what that's going to entail and what we're going to have with the Kenobi series.
We are literally on Obi-Wan Kenobi Eve right now.
Sure. I mean, that's why we decided to sit here at Tatooine, and luckily found this droid to be able to talk about all this stuff.
Yeah, so, I mean, some people that are watching later, you probably watched Kenobi and then found this either the next day or years from now, but we're going to go into this conversation having not seen anything from Obi-Wan Kenobi yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Disney Plus series that's airing tomorrow. And yes, we will be dropping 2 reactions for that over at the YouTube channel. But we kind of wanted to talk about Obi-Wan as a character and maybe some of the stuff that we can look forward to or
probably a mixture of like where are we at for now, right?
Sure.
Like who is Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah.
Where is he? You know, like what's that first setup? And then like once we get through a little bit of the history with that, like what are speculations or what do we hope for or what do we expect out of the Kenobi series and stuff? So like right now we have, you know, exiled Jedi Knight Master Obi-Wan Kenobi.
We do.
You know, he's hiding out on Tatooine and watching over young Luke Skywalker to make sure he's safe from Sith Lords, supposedly inquisitors now, which we've met through, you know, Rebels. We've met through some games and stuff too, and different things where it's like, okay, well, what kind of things do we have to like? I don't know. There's a mixture of like, well, why is he here? We know why he's there, right? He's watching Luke Skywalker. So when having a Kenobi series, like, what are the things that we're probably going to have to like keep in mind or look forward to, or that we're going to expect, or I don't know, even just want out of the Kenobi series? Because like so many people before would be like, well, he shouldn't be leaving Tatooine, right? He's supposed to be there. He's a hermit.
Sure.
He has a reason to be there. If he leaves Tatooine, it breaks all the rules of why he's there. You know, and it's like, but does it?
I think I'm most looking forward to getting into his head, because Obi-Wan as a character has, up until this point, never had to face solitude.
Sure.
Like, he's always been with the Jedi, who's with Qui-Gon Jinn, and then he lost Qui-Gon, and then he's with Anakin, and he's with the other Jedi. He's on the Council. He is in galactic affairs. He is a general in the Clone Wars, and he has soldiers, and he has responsibilities, and then he gets the greatest responsibility, go and watch over this boy, but it's not like he's not raising that boy.
No.
He's given that boy to a member, his family.
He's not training that boy.
And from what I understand, Owen's not a fan of Kenobi. So I think I'm most looking forward to what is quiet with Obi-Wan Kenobi like. What does that mean to watch from afar someone that you, by definition, don't even have a relationship with?
No.
Really?
No. I mean,
other than that, it's the son of your best friend.
Yeah. And so that would be such a weird thing to be
who
like.
Who killed the rest of your friends. Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. Like, if you had to watch if you just, like, lived close to, like, the foster parents of, like, my kid.
Yeah.
And I'm dead.
Right.
But you don't actually spend any time with my kid.
Yeah.
But you're just, like, from a distance, like, watching. Like, that just sounds weird from one point.
Sure.
From one point of view, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. It'd be weird to be an old hermit where you're tasked with, like, I must protect this individual, but not be involved in their life at all.
It's interesting. When you think of Obi-Wan Kenobi, how corruptible do you see him?
How corruptible?
Yeah.
I mean,
Obi-Wan is, he is the first Jedi we ever met. You know, he is the wizard in the mythology for the young boy to have a mentor and then lose that mentor. He was never like, well, what if he goes bad? Or what if he makes the wrong decision? Or what if he messes up, you know? Though we do get into that feeling like later in episode 6 where it's like, well, he made mistakes and he was lying about these things. But whenever you think of Obi-Wan, I never entertain the idea that he's going to give in.
I don't think I would ever think that he's going to like become bad, but there's definitely different things he's said or things he's done where I could see him not being in the Jedi Order anymore. Yeah. And there's been a few times like that where like maybe there's a little bit of falter and stuff. But as far as having like he could follow the dark side, I don't think I've ever thought like, well, Obi-Wan would do that, you know?
Yeah, I just this one thing I was thinking of was like, well, we're gonna be getting into a series that he's starring in, and you know, putting a mirror up what Jedi Master Obi-Wan is to, let's say, Jedi Master Luke Skywalker in the sequels, right? Like in the original trilogy, Luke Skywalker, the young boy, is the vehicle that so many people watching put themselves into. Like, you know, I can be someone that amasses power, and despite the hardships, despite family trouble, like I can do the right thing, no matter how hard it is. And then those people grow up, those people that put themselves in that vehicle. And I feel like it's incredibly boring if Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master, is the perfect character that does no wrong and never failed and never did anything, you know, because those people that grow up and put themselves back into the shoes of Luke Skywalker are going to be like, oh, well, I've messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I've failed. I've ruined relationships. I've lost my dreams. I've lost my power, you know? And Luke Skywalker gets to, once again, teach you that it's okay and that you're able to get that back. You're able to get back on the right path, you know?
Sure.
Obi-Wan is not that. Obi-Wan is he's, you know, he doesn't train Anakin correctly. Because Obi-Wan's, you know, he's
too brotherly.
He's too brotherly. He is the promise that he gave his father, train the boy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and when you try to think about it, Qui-Gon was going to train Anakin. Obi-Wan was trained by Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan immediately sees him as little brother.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't see him as son, you know?
No, yeah.
And Anakin, by definition, needs a father, because he literally doesn't have one. So you can say that, like, well, he definitely made mistakes, but there was never that moment where I felt like Obi-Wan was a failure. But I imagine, like, a failure in, like, to himself, right? Like, things happen and he has to respond, you know? But I imagine that, like, when we see Obi-Wan change the archive message, like any Jedi out there, stay away from Coruscant, and then he sees in the archives that his little brother is responsible for this, and I have to go kill him, you know? And he never once says, like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I have to do it. It's my duty. And then that fails, and then he takes on Luke, and he's like, he's never once like, I'm not doing that.
Sure.
No, it's my duty. I have to do it. I want to get into the series thinking about how close to, like, what's his mindset in regards of, like, what am I doing? Is this the right thing? Is this the most important guard post in the galaxy? Or am I just a sad old man clinging on to the love of my little brother?
Like, should he be out somewhere else fighting and doing other things? Like, we've dealt with Rebels a little bit and dove into, like, well, there's no way there's an Obi-Wan Kenobi out there, because if there is, he would definitely be here fighting, you know? So there's some characters where it's like, well, they're probably not going to show up in this, and we're probably not going to have to see them because they're assuming he's not involved. But would he be upset that he's not? Because he's bound to know. He's going to see transmissions happening. He's going to see news reports of some sort. Yeah. Like, I imagine that he has some doubts and thoughts of what he did and what he didn't do. I mean, he didn't. He left Anakin for dead. Yeah. He didn't kill him, you know? No. Does that weigh on him that he should have, like, actually finished him rather than just leaving him there for dead?
And he's so... The thing is that Obi-Wan... You know, the Jedi code is there is no fear, right? Obi-Wan is so afraid of messing this up. He literally lies to Luke just to not even get him close to the idea. It's like, hey, this guy, this Darksider, that could be you because that's your dad. He lies to him, you know? You can say, well, point of view, but, like, he's also just cheeky,
sure,
you know? But he lies to this kid. And when I try to look into, like, other than it's just like, well, George Lucas was making shit up, so there's a, you know, you retcon different things of why characters do that, and that's perfectly valid to talk about on another level. But just as level of, like I said before, how I watched the original trilogy, Star Wars just is. I don't really concern myself with the Star Wars that could be or that I think should be. I really enjoy Star Wars that is. So when I look at that, I think about when he is looking at Luke. He's the hermit, and he's watching over this boy. He's terrified, and he's haunted by what Anakin Skywalker did. And we've watched a trailer now, like, Obi-Wan, you can't run. He will find you. Like, Vader can be, like, a ghost of everything that Obi-Wan ever messed up.
Sure.
And a mirror to where he's looking at Luke Skywalker. It's like, I can't screw this one up.
Yeah.
And I'm literally the only one left that can do something about it, other than Yoda.
Yeah, like he knows the things that, like, he could have done differently, but I could definitely see that being a weighing factor on him, where it's like this, you know, his son, I will do right and not mess up like this one, you know.
Yeah. So I don't know if we'll go into that type of stuff in the series, but at the very least, like, whenever I see Ewan McGregor, the beautiful man that he is, like, looking off to the side, that's what I'm thinking he's thinking.
That's what you think he's thinking. I mean, we definitely see in the trailer some things where he's alone looking through and, like, observing and whatnot. So it's like, I hope we get a little bit of him just, like, on his own, and then we kick into what everything else is. I like to think that that's why they do those, like, 2-episode drop things, because they're like, well, the first one's a little slower. We want to get you into the action and stuff and get you enjoying this and that. But I appreciate the setups and getting to know where we are, because it's
Me
been
too.
how long? Like right now, like everything that we've had so far with Kenobi has been episodes 1, 2, and 3, right? Like he doesn't really show up in anything else up to this point in the franchise. Now we may get some crossovers, maybe with a few other characters here and there, but there's some where it's like, well, we got to cross out these. You know, we're not going to see this person, this person, this person. Yeah. But yeah, just trying to think of like all the things that we've seen him in and what he's been doing since then. Like we also had them left off with episode 3 where he should be training with Qui-Gon Jinn in a way, right?
Yoda has special teachings for him.
He's going to
Qui-Gon.
He's going to be learning aspects of like whether it's, the becoming one with the Force after death or something more. Like hopefully those teachings are what's also keeping him like together.
True.
Because like if you don't have that, you might go a little crazier, but he's always been so balanced with the Force, and having a way to also learn more from his father figure may keep him from being too crazy.
That may, but you might, one of my favorite things about characters and in stories is like here's a character's belief. Like every day, Obi-Wan woke up and he believed this, and then this happened, and then Obi-Wan felt doubt, and then either he affirmed his belief or he changed his belief. Right? That's like the basics of all storytelling. But I love the idea that to be able to speak with Qui-Gon, and we saw Yoda go kind of through this training in the Clone Wars. Like you have to be at one with the Force, at one with the living Force, the cosmic Force, yourself. Obi-Wan, I feel like in this time period, is the most unbalanced he's probably ever been in his entire life.
Yeah.
Like if you need to become one with the Force, how do you do that if you're not one with yourself? Like I hope that and unfortunately this might, I don't think we're going to get Qui-Gon like chiming in all the time. I think it might be something that's earned.
Yeah,
once
that'd be cool.
Because we know for a fact that Darth Vader's in this, and that we're going to get the rematch of the century, and I think that's all going to be well and good. And I'm going to be excited no matter what to see Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor cross lightsaber blades again. I just will be, regardless of the content. But I hope that seeing that again makes the doubt of am I doing what I'm doing go away. Am I doing what I'm doing? Is that correct, or is that the right thing to do? I want that to be the solidifying thing. Because Obi-Wan goes from episode 3, he gives the Lars's, Luke, and then he rubs his beard, and then suddenly he's just like, it comes in, scares on the great dragon. But I imagine that being by yourself, living in a cave or a hut or whatever, like there's going to be a lot of moments of like, what am I doing?
Sure.
Like everything that I ever believed in is gone. The Jedi are gone. Look what's happened. And now Anakin, who, at least I put Anakin down. I had to, discovering that didn't happen. He's a Dark Lord of the Sith. And I like, what is the point A to point B? Like how do you connect it from like every doubt and fear I ever had is being fully realized by knowing Darth Vader is who he is to this boy can stop it. Not me, but this boy. I want to see that connection.
Getting him to believe that what I'm doing is a good choice, that I am in the place I should be in. Yeah. Not that like, I should be out there with the rebellion fighting the Empire, but like, I get that. And I think it's a good idea. Especially if they only do one season of the Kenobi series. Yeah. And they don't do anything else, and this is just on its own. Sure. I think if nothing else, we have like a fun story, and you get that from him. I think that's a good like emotional journey for Obi-Wan.
I agree,
and I'd like that. So you said about with like Darth Vader. Are you expecting there to be like he will fight Darth Vader, or do you think it'd be a little bit more of like in Dagobah, like Luke fights Darth Vader, but it's not? It's an inner thing. Like,
I think he will fight Darth Vader.
It's just he will fight him.
Yeah. I think so. I think that there's a lot of people that don't want it to happen.
Sure.
Thinking that, no, here's why it can't. But, again, living mythology.
I'm interested to see how they do it with, like, there's lines and stuff, which in Clone Wars they dealt with what? You're taller than I expected, Like,
sure.
There's stuff with Grievous. Anakin and him can't meet, so, like, we got to play around with that. So how do you work your way around to make sure that lines in the original trilogy still work and still make sense? Yeah. While adding more content beforehand. But I think it's something that like when George made episode 4, it was to be like a serialized television type of feeling where like you joined in on a random episode and here's what's going on. Like there's definitely a story that's happened beforehand. Sure. And I think we can like fill in some blanks beforehand, and it still can work just fine.
Yeah.
And I'm just interested to see what they do with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's those lines in the original trilogy that, some stuff you ignore because you don't want to think about too much because it can break the story.
Sure.
Like, Luke asked Leia, like, tell me about your mother. And I'm like, well, I was a baby. It was day 1, and she died. That didn't happen.
No. I remember being very sad.
But we as an audience are just, we fudge over that a little bit, But whenever something new that happens that Disney does, and if it doesn't line up perfectly, it's like, well, there's no fudging. You can't fudge over things. You must plan meticulously, and you must tell me my story that I want. Like I like to have. I want people telling me these stories to have a little bit more freedom to do stuff, and I think there is some of those things that we've fudged over that we can then take that thread and add it over here, and it still works. Obi-Wan once thought, as you did, Vader says to Luke about turning. And I'm going, when?
Sure. When did he think he could save me? When did he think Anakin was still alive?
And now future era can be like, well, in Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Star Wars series.
The best you have is when they're talking on Mustafar, and it's like, well, then you are lost. It's like, well, did he once think as I did because in that moment he was trying to be like, Anakin, that's the line of a Sith,
Sure.
Like, that's not what you should be thinking.
Yeah.
You killed the younglings, like all this stuff. That's the closest you get.
Yeah.
But if anything, you get closer to some of those feelings with like stuff that happens in Rebels than you do with like the movies, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
But never with Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I
can't wait for that show. Now, Aaron, there's probably going to be some people out there, because not everybody has the time or even the care to watch all the cartoons, watch all of the expanded stuff around Star Wars. I've just watched the movies, and now because of Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, I'm starting to watch the live action. Sure. And there's something that I'm going to check out. What stuff in this series do you think people will be like, well, I don't know what that is, because they've only seen the movies?
Because they've only seen the movies, man.
The
I
big
don't know.
thing,
I would think, I think we're thinking the same thing, right?
Yeah.
The main thing is probably Inquisitors.
The Inquisitors.
I would say that's probably the main thing.
Yeah.
Inquisitors and the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Right? We have both of those. We've seen those in the trailer. And it's like, well, what are those? Aren't the Sith? There's two.
There's only two.
There's two Sith. Why are there all these red lightsaber guys running around?
Yeah.
Which we have a lot of that established in Rebels, which is the main usage, I think, of the Inquisitors and the Grand Inquisitor.
There is. We had Rebels. We had Jedi Fallen Order, a video game that had the second sister in it. And a lot of people were like, this is the live-action debut of the Inquisitors. It's actually not. And Gonk's going to bring this picture up. Did you ever play Dark Forces, a PC game back in the day?
With Kyle Katarn?
With Kyle Katarn.
You talk about Kyle Katarn a lot.
I do. So there was a character that Kyle fought. He was an Inquisitor. His name is Jarek. And he is the first, quote-unquote, live-action Inquisitor. Gonky's trying to pull him up. He will pull him up as soon as possible. There.
No.
Gonk, are you going to pull him up? Gonk, pull him up. I don't care if he's not as handsome as... Okay, he's not as handsome as Sam Witwer, but this guy right here, Dark Forces had live-action cutscenes.
Oh, did it?
So it did.
They did like the X-Wing and Star Command kind of things or whatever.
So if you want to go see a live-action Kyle Katarn and some amazing special effects from the PC games from back in the day, Jarek is actually the first live-action Inquisitor. He's also been retconned to be a... what's the name of the species from KOTOR? Mariluka?
Mariluka?
Yeah. So Jarek is blind. Yeah, Jarek is blind and uses the Force to see. And he has this kind of like thing over his eyes and stuff. And then we've retconned him since in Legends. This is all Legends, by the way, not canon. But I just love the idea that like people are like, live action Inquisitor. And I'm like, no, you forget Jarek. So a little bit of Star Wars history for people that haven't played those old games.
I never played those. Yeah. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that they have like the live action cinematic kind of things in them.
They did. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yep. There was also Rebel Assault or Rebel Assault 2 that had some live action like X-Wing pilots like in really bad.
Sure.
Like it was just a pilot like on like a blue screen like in a seat like this, and they just like comped him into a really bad CG X-Wing. But there's a lot of charm to those old games.
I remember like, was it Star Command with Mark Hamill? I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
Like those had like those full motion video.
Those old ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so that's our first Inquisitor. Now, in that, was he like a, like not a Sith, but like trained in the arts?
He was a Jedi archaeologist back in the day, And then when the Empire started rounding up, and granted, this is old Legends continuity, which does not really mesh with the current canon. But much like the Inquisitors that we're going to be seeing in Obi-Wan Kenobi, most of them are former Jedi. So they're not Sith. They are. Some people like to use the word dark Jedi
or gray Jedi.
I usually just say dark siders, but they tend.
I guess KOTOR used dark Jedi a lot in a lot of their stuff.
Yeah. I mean, a dark Jedi, I'm more comfortable using that than I am something like a gray Jedi, which I just find to be like a contradiction. Like, I don't think you can be a Jedi and also use a bit of the dark too, you know? That can be a whole other debate maybe in another podcast, because I know some people would be like, what? No, ridiculous. But that's just my personal belief. Maybe I'll change.
Yeah, I mean, and then you start looking at like different Jedi. Like, I think that'd be a good conversation because you got people like Revan, you got Ahsoka, you got Qui-Gon even, you know? Like, where it's like, well, where do they fall, you know?
Sure.
So...
Anyway, so Inquisitors, they have popped up in other media, but what you need to know, and like little fun facts of like the Grand Inquisitor, he has a full arc, kind of, but in season 1 of Rebels. And we don't want to spoil anything too much, though this is Badonkagonk, and that's kind of free game for us, but pretty much we know that this guy used to be a Temple Guardian, and if you've watched Clone Wars, we've seen Temple Guards that have the double-bladed staffs. That will be the Grand Inquisitor. We've also seen the 5th brother in Rebels, but there's going to be a new Inquisitor that I think that we're going to be focusing on called the 3rd Sister, and I'm very excited to get to know the 3rd Sister.
We haven't seen. We had the 2nd Sister.
The 2nd Sister is in Fallen Order,
and then we
Trilla.
had the Sarah Michelle Gellar played a sister, but I can't remember what number she had.
She was the 7th Sister.
Was it 7th?
Yeah. Do you have a current favorite Inquisitor?
Current favorite Inquisitor? No, I don't think so. Not yet. There's not one where I'm like, oh, I like that one the best or anything.
Really? You don't like...
They're all just kind of equaled out.
What about the 9th Sister?
No.
You don't like the 9th Sister?
I don't like the 9th Sister.
I like the 9th Sister. My favorite is the 2nd Sister right now from Jedi Fallen Order. Really loved her backstory and her feelings towards her master, and that this is a Padawan that was corrupted.
Sure. And some of those, like, that might be part of it too, is like there's not a lot of the Inquisitors that we know too much of, you know? They're kind of just like, there's the bad Inquisitor. Where'd they come from? It's like, well, we don't really know.
We don't.
But yeah, that's the one that we probably have the most backstory
I mean,
on.
Inquisitors are personified by that they're evil, they work for Nazis, and they're afraid of Vader too. Like, that's pretty much what Inquisitors are. But I'm really looking forward to, with the 3rd Sister, getting more into a character like what Trilla ended up being or could have been if given the time. But yeah, whenever I think of Trilla, the 2nd Sister, in episode 7, when they're talking about the Rathars, right? Finn asks Rey, like, have you ever heard of the Trilla massacre? Implying that Rathars, like, killed a bunch of people or something. Like, I've always thought, like, Trilla massacre. Oh, man, that's what happened to me at the end of Jedi Fallen Order.
You're right. You're right, yeah. We had that on Twitch, too, which was a fun time.
We do have that on Twitch.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there a planet called Trilla? Is it a city?
I think.
What was that referring to?
I only know 2 names. One is the Trilla massacre, and one is Trilla, the 2nd Sister.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, no, it'd be interesting to dive into more information about the Inquisitors. It definitely feels like we're going to see a lot more of them in this series.
Yeah.
So I think if you don't have too much information on them, I think you'll be okay. At least I'm hoping so.
I think so.
I imagine they're going to introduce what they are really well in this.
Yeah.
Whereas even in like Rebels and stuff, like you get the Grand Inquisitor kind of bringing in like some information, but then the other ones just kind of show up, and you don't necessarily know much more about them except for that they follow the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah.
So I don't know, getting to see like maybe some training stuff, maybe like what their discussions are like. Like I remember seeing like a council table or a meeting table with several Inquisitors around it. Like just seeing like what is their methods like and what do they do and what do they know? Sure. You know, like there's some Jedi that have disappeared and it's like, well, what happened to them? Did Inquisitors get them? Did something else get them? I don't know. It'd be fun to kind of see like how they expand that bit of information and whatnot.
Agreed.
Was Dark Forces, where'd that take place in the Legends?
That would have been...
Was it after Return of the Jedi?
After Return of the Jedi, yeah, I think. Well, it depends. The first game is stealing the Death Star plans.
For the first time or the second time?
There was no Rogue One. There was Kyle Katarn.
Okay, so he did that for the
and
first...
And then he becomes a Jedi. There's this thing called the Valley of the Jedi. Jarek is an Inquisitor, but he also has 7 Dark Jedi that you have to fight throughout the game. It's a very fun legend story, but nothing for that Kenobi fans will need to consider. Now, one thing that I'm looking forward to that some people, most people probably realize this, but we do have Uncle Owen and Amber Rue, both cast for this show, and Joel Edgerton, who was cast as Owen. Like, I don't know who cast him as Owen for episode 2, but man, did that pay off, because he has since been in some crazy, fantastic films, and that guy is a legit fantastic actor.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait for conversations between Kenobi and Owen Lars with Joel Edgerton as
What
Owen.
else has Joel been involved in?
Maybe Badonkagonk can search this up. There's a boxing movie that I would love that he's in.
A boxing movie?
Yeah.
Like Real Steel?
I don't think it's Real Steel. He was in Warrior. Is that what it is?
Warrior?
Zero
Okay.
Dark 30. He's been in a lot of really great stuff.
Okay.
But the caliber of, like, being a guy that got, like, 2 lines in episode 2 to now, like, hey, we're bringing you back. Would you mind? Like, whoever did the casting for that just must be loving that. Like, oh, thank God I cast that guy, and we can just bring him back in.
Sure.
Because I would hate to recast again. Hey, here's an interesting thing. This is kind of sidelined a little bit, but, I know there's a lot of people out there that when they listen to a Star Wars podcast or they have Star Wars creators, it's really easy to get into, like, the things you really hate, and then that snowballs, and now I hate everything, and I hate Kathleen Kennedy and all that stuff. And I do not feel that way, especially about someone like Kathleen Kennedy. I have a lot of respect for her career and the stuff that she's done so far. But she said something last week or 2 weeks ago that I don't think I've ever disagreed with her more. And she said the mistake of Solo was recasting Han Solo. Alden Ehrenreich was the mistake in that movie. How do you feel about that statement?
I mean, I've had this conversation with Melanie, honestly, because she felt like no one could replace Han Solo over Harrison Ford.
Sure.
But, I mean, I don't know how you do Solo in another fashion. And I wouldn't want him digitally makeup. And I thought, like, I've watched that more recently. And Melanie did as well. And she, like, story-wise and everything, like, there's lots of elements of that I think, for me, work really well. And I don't think anything that I have an issue with is because they swapped Han Solo for a different actor, And I don't know. I mean, it's a tricky thing to be like, all right, well, let's have a younger Luke or a younger Leia and, whatever. I don't think that you can get by with that nowadays and just have, like, well, we'll just have Mark Hamill be this guy. It's like, well, you're going to have to really digitally make it up and change a lot of things. And, like, Mandalorian did pretty well with some of the stuff they did. But, like, after I got past my first watch through the first time it happened, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Then the next time I watched it, I'm like, okay, I was really excited. I can see the seams a lot more. Yeah. I'm not thinking about those at all when I'm watching Solo. There's not like an element, like even in Rogue One, like the first time I watched Rogue One and get to the end and you're like, oh man, Leia. But like later on when you watch again with him and even with her and even Tarkin, you start seeing more seams for it.
You do.
And it breaks it just a little bit, but I don't think I don't think Solo has
I'd love to have the
issue,
conversation with her about that statement, because I don't think I could disagree more. Like Solo, I feel like its marketing campaign was terrible. It came out way too soon after a very divisive Last Jedi, and it also had huge production problems where they had to rewrite and reshoot half the movie.
Sure.
I feel like you would maybe mention those before trying to throw what was, for me, a fantastic Han Solo performance under the bus. But I only say that because how could you say something like that? Like, well, we made the mistake of recasting these iconic characters. And then 2 weeks later, we are launching Obi-Wan Kenobi, starring Ewan McGregor, who famously was recast
as a young
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah,
as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah. And we're bringing back Joel Edgerton, who was recast as Owen Lars. And we're bringing back Hayden Christensen, who recast Darth Vader. And Sebastian Shaw was cut out of the movie, and they put Hayden in there. Like we're launching what's going to be this huge, probably one of the biggest things in Star Wars is going to be Kenobi. For me, it's like the biggest thing that's happened since the sequels come out. Personally, I just felt like what a strange thing to say, and I hope, Like that's like, well, that's not exactly what she meant and all that kind of thing. I wouldn't have that conversation, but it was just one of those things where like I read that and I've never ever. I so rarely ever get like stressed or angry at something people say, but that one I was like, I need to speak, you know?
Yeah.
But there was part of me like, I want to be able to express that, but not lump myself in with the absolute insanity and grifting attitudes of some of the other creators out there that I can't stand.
Like in a conversation with that, she might have reasons that she thinks that.
Yeah.
And like getting into that would be nice rather than just taking like, here's the sentence of what she said and being like, what? That's ridiculous. Like, well, why do you think that?
Yeah.
But no, from my perspective, like, while I think like the CGI makeup stuff is awesome and it's so cool to see some of these older characters kind of come to life again for small moments and stuff. I think if you're going to do like a big movie with them, like having a CGI'd Luke Skywalker for me isn't going to hold up as well as if you casted what's his name? Sebastian Stan or something. Yeah. Right? Like have him being Luke Skywalker, I think would work for me so much more than like let's make a CGI Luke Skywalker doing all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic like, well, who is the definitive Macbeth? Who is the definitive Sherlock Holmes? Who is the definitive Incredible Hulk? It's like, well, you can have a lot of different people play it, and I'm still gonna buy it. I don't need to, like, I love Harrison Ford, but Harrison Ford would be the first one to tell you. It's like, well, I don't really care too much.
Sure,
you know, it's like I think the kid did a good job. You know, like
he can take it over. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I know. Well, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more talks about Solo in the future because I really do enjoy that movie each and every time I watch it. Probably more each time I watch it. But that was one of the things I was thinking about on the eve of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like all of the things that people are so excited by is recasted actors.
No, it really is. And it's weird to be like, well, that's the mistake of Star Wars because I don't think you get around that too well, especially with the prequels and stuff. So, no, I would disagree with her as well on that standpoint. And I hope maybe they look into more, like the CGI stuff's fun, but I hope they look into like, let's find an actor who can play a young this person or that person if that's what they want to do, rather than diving into all this other stuff.
I'm lukewarm on the CG, like let's recreate Luke Skywalker. Lukewarm. Because both of those appearances, both in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, required a bit of a magic trick.
Sure.
Like obviously Book of Boba Fett's Luke is far and away better than Mandalorian's. Mandalorian had to, when we've talked about this, when we watched the behind the scenes, like all the things they did to get you ready for when he takes that off. And it doesn't look amazing. It's 60% of what it should be, right? I think Book of Boba Fett is 90% of what it should be. That's how good it looks. Sure. But whenever we have a good close-up of him speaking, it's a line like size matters not. And as a fan, I'm going like, whoa. I'm not thinking of the lips didn't match.
Sure.
You know? So I think that looks amazing. You can talk about the actual technology and how it can be used for evil and all that stuff where I feel like every major technology that comes out like that, there's always that conversation. When Photoshop came out, like it was the worst thing that could possibly happen. And when Auto-Tune started happening, it's the worst thing that could happen. I feel like that we're going to go through that growing pain as well with this type of technology.
Sure.
But boy, whenever I first saw that very first frame and that first reaction, which you can go watch it, like I truly felt magic in that moment. And I think that movies need to make you feel like you're seeing a magic trick sometimes. So I'm not against de-aging or recreating a character that we can't see, but he's also a small part too.
Well, what works so well with some of that stuff is that they're working around it or they're shooting around it or the shots they have are specifically planned for this or that.
Yes.
Whereas like some of the stuff you get into the Solo, like that stuff wasn't going to work in a CGI format, I don't think, you know?
No, I agree.
It wouldn't be the same.
Like you need to have an actor that has a voice that can properly use that voice for that performance. Like I think that the look of Luke Skywalker was like, for me, it's like it's 90% real, which is really high, you know, but the voice was 40% real, you know, because it was modulated. And Mark Hamill, who has such a command of the different tones and the way that you can go up and down in his performance, that wasn't necessarily there. So that's something that still needs to be improved, and it's something that you don't have to consider when you recast.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you just find the person that's the best one for it, and maybe that's what she thinks is like maybe there was a better choice they could have went with. I know a lot of people were campaigning for that one guy who did a lot of like Harrison Ford impressions and kind of could like mold his face a little bit and do it. But I don't know if he's a good actor. Yeah. Like, can he do impressions? But can he do an acting? You know, like there's a little bit of a difference between that.
It's a huge difference.
But like when you get like, how was I supposed to know she was an Imperial? You know, like, and you get like Donald Glover like just showing up out of nowhere, just being like, I thought he did a really good job with that. And that's a recast of a, you know, let's make a younger Lando Calrissian. And like that, he was so good in that. I really enjoyed it. And you get that first line, and it was more of like you hear it, then you see him, and now you've made that character. I don't know if they did that as well. Maybe that's what they didn't do. Maybe they didn't get that first, like get the audio, then get the visual, and now you've made Han Solo. Because like you kind of see his face and you don't really hear his voice. You just hear, come on, it's dark and it's zapping this. You know, it's a little different than when they introduced Lando Calrissian.
I understand. Yeah.
So I don't know. There's definitely things I think they've done right with that, but I'd be interested, I guess, to hear more of that opinion of why she thinks that.
Yeah, and I'm, you know, when we're looking at Kenobi and we have both Ewan McGregor and we have Hayden Christensen on the call sheet, you're going to be very tempted to do like, all right, this is Clone Wars flashback time. I don't have any problem with like, hey, maybe we de-age these guys a tiny bit. You can do that, and it's still their performance. It's still that, you know, it's just digital makeup.
It's more like Ant-Man, right?
Yeah.
Where like they took was Michael Douglas?
Michael Douglas, yeah.
And de-aged him, and some other people too, you know, and they did stuff like that.
Marvel's done pretty well with that. I mean, Disney has done well with that, but I think that if you're going to do that, that's less egregious to me than like a full digital performance like what Luke felt like a little bit, despite that digital performance being, in my opinion, fantastic.
Sure. Probably the best one I've ever seen.
Right? I think so. And again, I cannot overstate how magical that first moment was.
Sure.
Like I will probably never feel that moment again. Because that first, until like we saw the seams, I saw no seams in that first moment. And I remember just like being flabbergasted. I don't know if I ever feel that again, but there's moments in Solo when I watch that and I'm like, there he is, there's Han. Like I actually see it, despite it being he doesn't look the same or he doesn't sound the same. I saw the performance and I saw the character come out. I don't know. It's one of those things that I will constantly in my head be going back and forth on, because at the end of the day, I will, you know, if we do a Clone Wars flashback and they don't do any makeup or anything changing the ages, I'm going to be like, who fucking cares?
Sure.
Because if it, you know, if we have Vader and it doesn't sound like James Earl Jones, it's not James Earl Jones. I don't give a shit that James Earl Jones sounds like he's 90. I do not care. If James Earl Jones lives, he voices Vader. That's what you do. And it's a mistake to do anything else.
That's really harsh.
I know.
It's heavy.
But that's how much I love James Earl Jones as Darth Vader. So
sure. No.
I'll forgive other things, but there are some things that I will hypocritically contradict myself and say, no, it must be James Earl Jones.
No. All right. Well, I suppose I suppose like if I wanted Darth Vader, I probably want James Earl Jones.
Sure.
But like there's been some other ones where I'm like, it sounds pretty good and it doesn't take me away from it too much. But sometimes like I mean when he's getting pretty old, like it does sound a little different.
I don't care.
Like I don't know.
A voice like
does
that
Vader
comes
sound
around.
Too old then when it happens?
I don't care. He's having a bad day.
A bad day?
Yeah. Vader can't wake up with like a little phlegm? I mean, that guy's probably made of phlegm. There's probably nothing but he probably has a subroutine in his chest that gets rid of phlegm.
It's been perfected from Grievous, right?
Sure.
Grievous was always coughing.
He was always coughing.
Now he doesn't have to cough.
Exactly.
He's just a little...
Get James Earl Jones.
The one thing I hope that they don't sleep on, I guess, is we have so many actors from the prequel trilogy and stuff that they've used that I hope they keep them in mind for projects. Like, we're getting to the point now where, like, hey, you want to do this, like, closer to Episode 4 stories?
Yeah.
You know, Daniel Logan?
Yep.
Right? Like, how old is that guy? He was little Boba Fett. Why don't we use him as a Boba Fett in that middle ground before
like a younger Boba Fett?
Yeah, before we get to Episode 4, let's put him somewhere in like the Cassian series or whatever we can do with him.
Do you think Daniel Logan would do that?
Yeah, I do. When I saw him at Star Wars Celebration, like he's coming out from behind the table.
Fuck yeah,
he's talking with every fan.
That guy is waiting by the phone.
It's like,
to do
dude,
something like that.
I love this job. Like doing stuff like that and bringing in like having Ewan McGregor being Obi-Wan Kenobi right now is great. Like, you had him in 99 being young Obi-Wan, and as he's gotten older, put him in as an older Obi-Wan Kenobi. But make sure you don't sleep on the other stories you can tell with other actors, because eventually they're going to get too old for the part, and you got to recast them.
I understand.
And now it just feels more weird, because now you have like 3 people playing these guys, and I don't know. Or get, that other guy who played a clone.
Yeah, that guy.
The other guy.
Yeah, that other guy. Look up that guy. No one thinks about him.
There's 3. There's Daniel Logan. Yeah. Right? There's that guy.
Yeah.
And then there's Jango Fett, Tamara Morrison.
But there's they always forget the third one. He holds, like, other than Daniel Logan and Tamara Morrison, he plays the most parts in the movies.
Yep. So.
All right. Well, those are some things that we have coming up for Kenobi, but we wanted to transition in this last half hour of the podcast to something else about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, we did bring up talking about our top 5 Kenobi moments.
Yes. Now, you said let's get our top 5, and I could not help but write 10.
Well, you're not allowed to say 10,
I got
Eric.
10.
You get 5.
I might have some honorable mentions.
You
when
have
we get to the end
pick
of this one.
5.
Yeah.
I wrote down like 7 or 8.
What the hell?
Well, I wrote down.
You said 5.
I didn't want to double up on everything you had. So if you had a cool one, I was like, well, I had that too, but I'll say another one because that's fun.
All right. So this is top. I think it's very important to remember. We're filming this the day before Kenobi comes out. These are all of our top 5 moments of Obi-Wan Kenobi before we saw Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Sure, yeah. And then obviously too, like some of this stuff, some of these conversations will have spoilers for things anywhere between any things we mentioned, the movies, the animations, pretty much anything that's just canon that is visual, like TV and movies.
Now, do you want to go from 5 to 1?
I don't know. I don't really have an order in any mind. I just wrote them down. I'm like, I like this one. I like this one.
Gotcha.
I like this one. So, do you want to go backwards?
I'll go backwards.
If you go backwards, are you starting at 5 then?
I think going.
Or are you trying to start at 10? You start at 5.
I'm starting at 5.
Okay, that's good. I like that.
So my 5th favorite Obi-Wan Kenobi thing is the Reiko Hardeen saga in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I don't know if do you have Reiko Hardeen? Ha! I took one. That's why you have alternates.
Cross that one out.
Obi-Wan's deception, right? This is specifically season 4, episode 15 through 18.
I think it was 3 episodes, right?
I think it's 4. I think it's Deception, Friends and Enemies, The Box, and Crisis on Naboo.
Yeah. That sounds right then.
Yeah. So there's a plan to do something to Chancellor Palpatine, and our Jedi boys figure out a way to get a spy.
Yeah.
And amongst the bounty hunters that are trying to do something, and they take Obi-Wan, and ironically, one of my favorite things about Obi-Wan Kenobi is whenever he's not Obi-Wan Kenobi.
When he's not Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
No, so like, why is that one of your favorite moments of Obi-Wan Kenobi, though?
I absolutely love. One of my favorite parts in the Clone Wars is like the very beginning when Yoda and Obi-Wan are like. So we always play like Ahsoka is going to be his Padawan, and Anakin, he like it's the trial for the reason you give Ahsoka to Anakin isn't so that he can be a good teacher, it's that so he can learn to let things go. And Reiko Hardeen's saga, just like when R2 was lost or Ahsoka was lost because of the damn Trandoshans or whatever like that, it shows that Anakin cannot let things go. That is his older brother, that is his master, and he will do whatever it takes to get revenge because he thinks Obi-Wan is dead. And it's a perfect way of subtly showing Anakin that the Jedi do not trust you.
Yeah. No, that was one of the reasons that was one of my favorite moments was the same thing was that what it does for the story between Anakin and Obi-Wan, like showing the relationship there. And the fact like, I got to lie to Anakin and not tell him this stuff. And it's done really well. Yeah. Besides also having a fun spy bounty hunter story of seeing him go to prison, do a jailbreak, like the whole story bit is really good too.
He gets to interact with one of the best characters that's ever existed in Star Wars, Moralo Eval.
I was like Cad Bane, and then you went to him,
Eval, baby.
Oh yeah, Moralo Eval.
Oh man, but no, I also love that Obi-Wan as Reiko Hardeen cannot help but be the hero. Yeah, like in episodes like The Box, like he's supposed to be this cutthroat killer, right?
Yeah,
this sniper killer that killed Obi-Wan Kenobi. He can't help but save even the worst in the galaxy.
Yeah. I also love seeing like the transformation they do with that.
Gotcha.
Like the little like voice modulator thing and like all that kind of stuff is really cool too. Like seeing this weird tech in Star Wars.
Yeah.
So,
All right, that was my number 5.
All right. Man, trying to pick what my number 5 would be is hard. I'm going to pick this one because I think it's one of my favorites, but I think lower on the list works for me on this one.
Okay.
I love the negotiations were short.
Just the joke?
I love having, like, in the very beginning, meeting Obi-Wan Kenobi, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's like, well, I've already seen the original trilogy. I'm watching episode 1 for the first time.
No.
You kind of see him there for a little bit.
Yep.
And you get to that point, it's like, well, you're right about one thing, Master.
Well, you were right about one thing, Master.
And
no, it's great. It's the beginning of smarmy Obi-Wan.
It is. And I love that, like, introducing his character and, like, who he is as a young Padawan. Like, he's on the cusp of becoming a Jedi Knight or a Jedi Master and all that kind of stuff. And it's, I don't know. There's something about it when, like, most of my list, I try to do, like, okay, if I'm going to sit here and think about what is my favorite Obi-Wan, what comes to mind? And that was one of the first things that came to mind. I'm like, well, that must be one of my favorite moments.
That's a fantastic one.
So that's one I really like about that.
That's good. And it's not on my list.
I didn't figure it would be. I wasn't sure if it'd be on many people's lists. So.
Yeah. Okay, so number 4 comes from another Clone Wars episode, Season 2, Episode 13, Voyage of Temptation. It is when Obi-Wan confessed to Satine that if you had just said the word, I would have left the Jedi Order. I see that you're crossing off another moment on your list.
That's another one of my higher ones that I really like too.
It's my number 4 because I it's hard to rank, but I had to. But I love this moment because it's what I was saying before about every day I woke up and I believed this thing, and then this thing happened, and now I don't know what to believe. Like, Obi-Wan is the model Jedi.
Yeah.
He is the perfect Jedi. And even he, in a moment of youth, in a moment of passion or love, he sees what's wrong with the Jedi in that moment. I think that's important because it gives Anakin a little chance of being like, hey, so your girlfriend in there. She's not my girlfriend, you know?
Yeah.
But we know now with that confession, he's like, he loved that woman.
It really, too, like, puts it, like, it mirrors him and Anakin a lot with, like, look, they both had feelings.
Yeah.
But, like, Obi-Wan didn't quite go far enough. He wasn't willing to go far enough. Yeah. But if she would have been, but they both took their duty first, you know? And it's just like, what would have Obi-Wan been like had he fallen to, like, let me leave the order and do this and that, you know? And I really like that as being like I guess like a questionable moment in his past where it's like why didn't he want to bite that bullet? Why didn't he want to do that? But I don't know.
Because it's his duty.
Yeah. It's really cool, and I think it adds more to him where it's like he chose not to, whereas Anakin did not choose duty first. Even with Padme kind of being like, well, you're a Jedi, you can't do that. And he's like, well, you know, and he kind of pushes more and more into it, where she initially is kind of like, I don't know if this is the right way to go about it, is it? And then they fall in love, and then it happens anyway. Yeah. But like Satine and Obi-Wan are both like, no, our duties come first. We can't because we have to do this and this.
Yeah. That's one of my tops.
No, I like that one a lot
moment.
Too.
Number 4.
What's my number 4? I'm going to say number 4 for me is I'm going to take first meeting Alec Guinness. I'm going to mix that a little bit with like the first time when you have him, like, well, sure, the Crate Dragon has changed a lot of times and stuff too, but him like introducing himself to R2, but then really the main moment is like the next scene at Obi-Wan's place and him introducing just like what is the Force and setting up everything that was Star Wars and what is the Force and what are you going to expect for the rest of this. I think that's just a good moment for Obi-Wan because one, it's the first time you meet him, and it's also the first time you learn about everything at Star Wars. You know what I mean?
We know that Obi-Wan's a very composed person now that we've seen most of his life, but when you're watching it back then, you don't think about this. But when I watch that, I wonder how nervous he is talking to this kid.
Sure.
You know? Like, it's implied that maybe they've spoken before and stuff like that, but like he's telling what the Force is to Anakin Skywalker's son, you know? And I always loved that the Force is an energy field. It lives and binds the galaxy together. Like, the way that scene was acted, and we know that Alec Guinness was not quite a fan of Star Wars.
Sure.
But that's just a testament to how good he is. The man literally told the world what the Force is.
Yeah.
You know?
And we've talked before, too, like, you know, we mentioned about the machete order and stuff like that, too. And some of the reasons that we've talked about that being, like, a good order to watch Star Wars in for your first time is because of Obi-Wan explaining what the Force is and what, you know, Clone Wars and all these different things. And it's just, if you watch it other ways, you don't quite get things the same way.
Yeah.
Like you don't really get introduced to what the Force is by watching
Sure.
episode 1.
Yeah.
You just kind of fall into being like, oh, look at these guys. What
Yep.
do they do? Oh, they ran real fast, you know?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
So no, it's just something that I feel like is important to the series,
Mhm.
and to the franchise as a whole. And you get Obi-Wan handing like the lightsaber, and that's the meme of
It
like,
is.
oh, what's this? You know,
Yeah.
and
And
there's just some funny moments in there too.
my favorite moment, I think, of that whole scene is Obi-Wan when he and again, this is the living mythology version of this scene, not necessarily what was in 77 when you were watching it in theaters. Not that we were alive. But I love the moment where Obi-Wan is like, he's talking about Anakin, and like he's talked about Darth Vader, he's like a pupil of mine that turned to evil, but he can't help but say, like, he was the best starfighter pilot in the galaxy, and he was a good friend. He can't help that. He can't help but say it, I love that moment.
Yeah.
Make me cry!
No. Yeah. So that's why that's one of my favorite moments is just having.
It also makes him cry.
He's sad too.
Yeah, he's sad as well.
I'm sorry, Badonkagonk. All right. Well, what is your next one?
Well, I want to go into my next one, but I kind of want to default back to you. I don't want
Back
one of
to
mine.
me?
I don't want one of mine to take another off your list.
All right.
Let's cross something off my list.
Yeah, I
What
can't
do you got?
imagine. I'm sure that we must have something else here.
Yeah, you're number 3.
Number 3 I have is actually another Clone Wars moment.
Okay.
It was a fight of Darth Maul and Savage Opress versus Obi-Wan and Ventress.
Ooh,
I picked that one because like there's so many Anakin and Obi-Wan fights. There's ones in the movies and stuff, but this is like a fun, different thing of like.
This is the famous. There are so many red blades in this room.
There are so many, and it's just like it's an interesting moment of having like Ventress is trying to figure out where she belongs, and Obi-Wan and her like, well, I guess we'll team up for this because here's the problem at hand, and you're not really my enemy, and you're not really my enemy, so it's a really fun moment to get, and it's a different person than what he normally fights with.
Sure.
I also thought about the other fight, which was Obi-Wan and Adigalia.
Okay.
But then the way that fight goes, I don't like it as much.
Gotcha.
So I decided to go with this one.
Sure. Okay. I think that's a solid choice.
Yeah.
And it's pretty high up on your list.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say probably some of mine are fighting things.
Well, I'll go into my fighting thing. This is going to be the most brief of favorite moments in the world. But I love in episode 1 in the Trade Federation beginning scene when Obi-Wan back thrusts his lightsaber to block a bolt. Every time I watch that, we don't have it up right now. Some people might not know what we're talking about, but he's deflecting from
Qui-Gon's melting the door, right?
Yeah. Obi-Wan back thrusts, and almost doesn't even look, and he just puts his lightsaber where the puck was gonna go. He Wayne Gretzky's it, And I've never believed that was happening on screen more than in that back thrust. Like, you watch episode 2 in the Grand Arena, the Pechanaki Arena, with all the droids coming in, and you just see Sam Jackson being like, and I'm like, motherfucker, you ain't doing anything, He's doing this and stuff. Sam Jackson's not the strongest of lightsaber fighters.
Sure.
But I've never more in a Star Wars movie believed that someone blocked a blaster bolt than that back thrust. And that's why it's my number 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one.
Yep.
I like that one. I guess for my number 2, and I don't know if it's going to tie with one of yours or not.
Okay.
But mine was the Twin Sons appearance.
That is my number 2. I have alternates.
You have alternates? Okay, that's good. Good. No.
But what specifically? Twin Sons is the whole episode, Aaron.
Twin Sons is a whole episode, but Obi-Wan's not involved in a lot of it.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's just his whole appearance in that episode.
Yep.
I love so much of what he says to like Ezra.
You're in the wrong place.
But I also, and Steven Stanton did such a good job with the voice of that, where I'm like, this is such a good, like Alec Guinness, but not quite Alec Guinness just yet, right? It's getting there. It's right on the cusp.
Again, shout out to Sam Witwer for his wonderful performance as Maul in that episode. But even he will say, yeah, Steven Stanton did amazing.
He did such a good job.
Because you have that line where it's like, look what you have become, a rat in the desert. And Steven does the perfect impression of, and it's not even an impression. He is Obi-Wan in that moment. It's like, look what I have risen above. And that line is everything that Obi-Wan is.
Yeah.
Look what I have risen above. I love it.
No,
Twin Sons.
it's good, and that's one of the things where for the Kenobi series, I'm excited to see him getting to that kind of point and what his stance is with that. Because Darth Maul's right. Like, what are you doing? You're hiding here as a rat in the desert. Like, what? Why?
So you're just saying that whole 15-minute segment? Cause
yes, really.
There's so many. You could put that.
The
could be
highlight.
That could be my top 5.
All in
just
that moment there.
Moment.
Sure. The highlight of that, of course. When I think about it, my first thought goes to the fight.
Sure.
Which is also only 2 seconds long.
It's 3 moves,
you know what I mean?
it's one of the best Star Wars fights.
And it reflects so well from what you get from Episode 1 to where it ends there.
It totally does.
I love it as a choreographed story, and it didn't need to be long and drawn out or anything. And I know some people were like, "That's it."
Sure.
But I also from a standpoint of just watching it, it was just so good. It's one of my favorite. It's just one of my favorite moments in Star Wars, let alone just for Kenobi.
Yeah. Well, that's your number 2, right?
That's number 2.
Well, my number 2 is right after that. My number 2 is Obi-Wan Kenobi shows mercy to Maul. It's after the strike. It's after the fight where he cradles him,
Sure.
And Maul, who, he's described as Theseus rolling the rock up the mountain, and it comes tumbling down, right? Is that Theseus? Sisyphus.
Syphilis.
Someone over there was shaking their head. My bad. This is why I have support staff. But he's, described as the person that goes up the mountain and it's always falling down, and he can't understand why, and he does it again and again and again and again and again and again. And all he gets to is fucking, you know what, Kenobi. He just can't think of it.
Yeah.
And he's fueled, and the dark side has filled his already broken many times mind. And Obi-Wan recognizes that. He's not here to hurt Luke Skywalker. He's here to hurt Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Obi-Wan knows that. And after the fight is done, he caresses this Dark Warrior and pities him and reassures him. And that's what a Jedi does.
And it's sad, too. It's crazy how, this... I mean, Darth Maul is such a evil, terrible character, you know? The things he's done, the people he's killed.
And he's a tragic...
He kills Satine, and that's, this is... that's the closest person Obi-Wan had to, someone that he would have just... that he loved, and that would have been, something higher than the Jedi Order for him. And what he does for Darth Maul in that moment, too, is just such a Jedi type of thing.
It is. No one watching would have blamed Obi-Wan for being angry at Maul.
Sure.
No one. But look what I have risen above.
Sure.
So, great moment.
Within that episode, too, I really love what's protecting something or someone. And then it's there was nothing, no lightsaber or anything until someone. And it's now I have to stop you.
And the thing I love about it, too, so much is Darth Maul is just I manipulated this boy to find you. And look, you're this rat in the desert. You're this old man. You're not going to be able to fight. Look at you. Look what you're living. You're a sad person in the desert. It's not even going to be worth it trying to kill you. I'm going to poke and prod and try to rile you up. Remember I killed Satine? And remember all these things?
Yeah, and I killed your father figure.
In that moment when he gets sliced down the chest, he realizes this is a Jedi in his prime. This is the most important guard post in the galaxy. And... the most powerful Jedi is right here, and I fucked up. I fucked up so hard.
No.
I shouldn't have come here. But again, it's that boulder that ran back over him this time.
Sure.
We need to have, in the Badonkagonk lexicon, as we move on, how many times Eric almost cries.
How many times? Sure.
I know. He'll keep track of it for me.
Well, we have one more, right, for each of us?
Yes, we have one more for each of us.
Is it going to be the same? Do we both have the same one, I wonder?
I think I have a pretty unique one.
Do you?
Yeah.
Mine is Duel of the Fates. Mine is the Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul fight.
So, once again, just like number 2, mine is right after.
Right after?
Yep. So you can have Duel of the Fates.
Duel of the Fates?
Yep.
Well, I was thinking about this and, what's my favorite thing? And I remember, as a kid, watching that was the most hyped for Star Wars I've ever been. It was one of my favorite moments. It's still probably one of my favorite moments in Star Wars is just seeing that duel. Ray Park is so good. Ewan McGregor does such a good job. And then when it comes down to one-on-one with them, it's amazing and stuff too. But then also listening to the Dave Filoni telling why that is the Duel of Fates and why it's so important and what it means. Add just another layer to already an exciting fight and one of my favorite moments
Yeah.
of Star
What
Wars. Anyway.
Aaron's talking about is in the Disney gallery of The Mandalorian. Dave Filoni goes on a tangent and talks about Duel of the Fates, and it's amazing. And the most amazing thing about that is that that's not Dave Filoni saying it. It's Dave Filoni saying what George Lucas said.
Yeah.
And George never told us. He's like, well, there's subtext. Figure it out, fuckers. Peace. And then he took all his money and left, you know? Whereas Dave Filoni's like, I got to tell people.
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, I agree. That explanation just adds so much to what that is.
It does.
That, you know, here is the father figure that Anakin needs to become what he can become. Regardless if you think that's the will of the Force or not, it's taken away. The duel of the fates, the worst thing that could have happened is that Qui-Gon's dead and not there to raise this boy. So my number one is Obi-Wan's promise to Qui-Gon Jinn. I love this moment because the movie has spent a very long time showing that Obi-Wan's a little wary about how Qui-Gon does things, right? He's like, don't defy the council, Master, not again. Or like, you know, he's like, but Master Yoda says I should do this. And Qui-Gon's like, no, man, you do this. Come on.
Here and now. In the moment,
be in the here and now in the moment. You know, have your attention now where it belongs. And I think it would be very easy for the perfect Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, to listen to Yoda and listen to the council and say that this kid shouldn't be trained, you know? It's like he knew that was a decision before it even came in, right?
Yeah.
But Anakin doesn't get his father figure, but Obi-Wan's father figure is dying. And despite all the things that are what he should do with this kid, he loves his dad, you know, his father figure, Qui-Gon. He loves him, and he makes that promise. And that promise is the thing that changes the whole galaxy, for better or for worse, depending on what you think the balance of the Force is. But my favorite moment is Qui-Gon. That's the first time that he'll be like, I know what I should do, but I'm not. I'm going to do what I feel is right. Sure. And I think that we're going to see that again. And it's going to be featured in Obi-Wan Kenobi, where he's like, I don't know what to do with this Luke Skywalker kid, but I know it's the right thing to do, and I'm going to do it. So that's my number one.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think those are some good lists. I'm sure some people are probably surprised that we don't have the Episode 3 battle in that.
I got a lot.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my alternates in 5 seconds?
Sure.
Changing the message for surviving Jedi on Coruscant, jumping onto N121 out of a fucking glass. Amazing moment. Jumping out of his Jedi Starfighter in Episode 3 and just fucking cutting shit down.
Sure, yeah.
Love that moment. The Cato Nemodia introduction in Season 7 of The Clone Wars, where he cuts that missile. Like, that's just iconic look at the perfect Jedi moment. And my other alternate that I almost regret not including in my list is Obi-Wan's advice to Han Solo. Han discovers the Death Star is here and, you know, Alderaan is gone, and Han, like, is losing control. Like, I was just going to get this money and I was going to do this thing, and he's like, and now I'm going to fight. They're not going to take me without a fight. And Obi-Wan, who doesn't really concern himself with Han Solo very more, he's like, don't worry, there are all alternatives to fighting. I love the moment of the Jedi mentor reaching out to Han and just being like, hey, I can help you too. Let me take care of it. You don't always have to be in control. You don't always have to be the scoundrel. You can let others help you. And then maybe that's something he's thinking about, was like, well, maybe I should help others.
Sure.
So I like that moment too.
The only other one I had that I liked was actually another Alec Guinness moment, which was a certain point of view conversation.
Gotcha.
Which I thought was interesting and really reflects well with like things that Yoda has done, things that you're seeing from like the Force, what the Force means, what visions are telling you. Like it depends on your point of view of how you look at a lot of things, and that can really change a lot of stuff about it, you know?
Yeah.
So
that was a hell of a list, Aaron, and we went on an emotional journey. Badonkagonk, how did you feel about that? He doesn't care very much. I don't think he really cares very much.
He's probably getting tired.
Yeah.
Well, we do have one more of the Lego Star Wars games that we need to give away.
We did not get a response from the first one, so we have a new giveaway winner, it looks like here.
Sure. So for the first giveaway, it was Light Shadow Onyx that won the first one. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Badonkagonk.
Yeah, so Light Shadow Onyx, please respond with us, Whisper, right?
I think it's already he's already talked to him, so I think we're good on that one. We didn't get a response from that.
All right.
But we are going to have to draw another one.
Yes.
So you better hurry up and get in your tickets things here, because we're going to have to do that. And we might take a question Before we wrap up, we're getting close to the end of time.
When
here.
Aaron and I were talking about doing podcasts, and it's like, well, I mean, we can do questions at the end if we run out of time, or if we don't run out of time. And I'm like, well, it's us.
Sure, yeah.
So let's try to get one question.
So let's try to get at least one question in.
Yeah.
So, Badonkagonks, let's have you pick one out. And looks like the question.
Yeah.
From the Real John 102. Do you think Anakin would or could have corrupted Qui-Gon later down the road if he had survived? So, let's say Obi-Wan Kenobi was the one who dies instead or something, right? And with Qui-Gon actually trains him, maybe.
Interesting. Do you think so? I can go into a whole meta answer about what the will of the Force is, and is it possible that the will of the Force cannot be done, and all that stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So I don't know if it can happen any other way. But as a theoretical exercise, I personally don't. I don't think that he could. I think that Qui-Gon had already received a lot of that training to become one with the Force.
He seems to be, out of a lot of the Jedi, the one most connected to the living Force.
The living Force. And I think there's some evidence in there that maybe at one point in Qui-Gon's life he could have. I don't think that Count Dooku ever really lies too much when he's talking to Obi-Wan Episode 2.
Sure.
Where he's like, I only wish Qui-Gon were here. He would understand. I think that Count Dooku, as he trained Qui-Gon might have been that person that's like, you know what? Fuck the Republic. The Republic and the Jedi, they don't hold just what is right in the world, and he might go against that. But I think that Count Dooku might not have known Qui-Gon after he received that training, and I'm assuming that training changed a lot.
Sure.
And at that point, I don't think that he could necessarily be corrupted by Anakin at all. I think that he could only be disappointed.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree with that. I think by the time that Anakin would meet Qui-Gon, I think he is connected enough with the Force that he wouldn't do that. So I would agree.
Okay.
That's probably going to be the only question we get to today.
Sorry, everybody. We had too much fun.
We talked about a lot of stuff. We will be having another Badonkagonk podcast, which is going to be on the 16th of June.
Gotcha. And it's going to be on the 16th. But if you liked this, please let us know. The more people that say that they had a good time, the more we're going to try to do these. But right now, it's just kind of once a month. But on the 16th of next month.
Right now, we're looking at once a month. It is possible that we may do more. So let us know if you like this, whether you're watching this on Twitch Live or you're watching this on YouTube. Leave some comments. Leave it a like. Tell us over on Twitter, either on at Blindwave or at Badonkagonk. That's the new Twitter for our little gonk droid here.
Yep.
Also, next podcast, we're going to be talking about a specific book. No, a book. A book. Yes, I know.
I think he was excited for Sam Witwer.
No, there's no Sam Witwer.
Yes, so next podcast is going to be our first book club, and that book is going to be Star Wars Brotherhood. We are currently about ready to embark on Kenobi and Vader stuff, but let's go back to a classic Star Wars story with Star Wars Brotherhood.
Yeah. Now, we haven't read too many other things, so we'll be looking into trying to find a mixture of different stories we go to into the future.
Yep.
But for right now, this is going to be one of the first ones that we're going to be reading, and I'm excited for that. There hasn't been too many of the books that we've read yet, but so if you guys want to join us for that, we'll be talking about that. If you want to read it beforehand, you can do that as well.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about all kinds of things involving Brotherhood. Maybe it can tie into some stuff that we see in Kenobi.
Maybe.
We'll have one more week before Kenobi comes out when we do that next one. So we'll be right in the middle of Kenobi. It'll be interesting to see what kind of things we have.
And I know that you're thinking right now, it's like, I'm not going to read that. Guys, trust me. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's not a very big book. At least give it this one a try. If you don't like it, it's like, well, I'm not going to do the book thing in the future. But do yourself a favor. Just give it a read. Come back for the next one and see, like, you know what? I actually really did enjoy that. I want to continue.
Yeah. Or do what I'll do, and I'll probably listen to it.
You could do that, too.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we have our last giveaway.
All right. Oh, we did.
We did.
Tobammer
is the final winner for Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga Lego game. So congratulations. We'll be reaching out to you. And, I think this was a success, Aaron.
Yeah, I think so, too. Yeah. What did you think, Badonkagonk?
Yeah.